Hi everyone, please subscribe to my channel. Blood Immortal. See playlist for other chapters and novels. Join now our Telegram channel now and enjoy exclusive early access. t.me/blood_immortal_official. I do not translate the novels. Credits goes to original translator and author of the novel. I only make it as an audiobook so it would be easier to just listen while doing other things. Credits goes to the author of the novel. I convert stories to audiobook for mental health, for multitasking purpose, for accessibility and time saving. Listening to audiobook is also beneficial for people who have disability. It improves our listening skills and improve our English comprehension, vocabulary and other things. So, thank you for listening. Thank you and thank you very much for your support. Chapter 701. Do you see someone blowing air to a cow? Chapter 701. Do you see someone blowing air to a cow? Revered Master, what is going on with you? Suddenly, Lin Fan got a little worried when he saw Feng Qingzi lying down on the ground. Disciple, Master here has been stricken down by a disease that has one unable to live without a storage ring. I think you had better return that storage ring to your master here. Feng Qingzi said with difficulty, then closed his eyes and fainted down. This is bad, bald monk, hurry up and help my revered master with a mouth-to-mouth CPR. Lin Fan gasped out in shock. Bloody hell. This crafty old man was still acting at a time like this. Huh, benefactor, you've got to be kidding with this poor monk here, right? Reverend Shakia's face was startled. To think that a man such as himself would have to give an old man a CPR. What if word of this got out into the world? Why are you still wasting time? Being someone from the Buddha race, shouldn't you be filled with compassion? Saving a life trumps building a 7-storied pagoda. Hurry up, Lin Fan continued. Benefactor, please pardon this poor monk for being unable to accede to that request. Reverend Shakia replied with a pained look. No matter what, he couldn't possibly do something as such. Hurry up and give my revered master some CPR. Once you revive him, I'll give you some of the treasures in the storage ring. Lin Fan added on. Benefactor, are you for real? The moment Reverend Shakia heard the terms, he was elated with joy as he double confirmed it. Of course, absolutely real, Lin Fan said. All right, here comes this poor monk then. As the saying goes, saving a life trumps building a 7-storied pagoda. If I don't enter hell, who would? Furthermore, the fact that I can relieve Senior Feng Qingzi here of his torments is the fortune of this poor monk here. Without any hesitation, Reverend Shakia bent down immediately and was ready to give Feng Qingzi some CPR. The moment Lin Fan saw this, he could not help but sigh out. Damn it, what a greedy bald monk. Seemed like treasures were the only things that could cause his heart to waver. The moment Feng Qingzi felt this breath of air coming towards him, his eyes jerked wide open as he replied suggestively, Ah, my dear disciple. You're indeed my dear disciple. Thank you for the praises, revered master. Saving my revered master is my duty as a disciple. Lin Fan's expression did not change at all as he replied righteously. FCK this. The plans were never ending. What goes around comes back around. So what if he was scammed earlier on? The one who could hold out till the very end would be the true winner. There would always be mountains higher than the other. Each generation would succeed the preceding one. So what if he had more experience than yours truly? In the end, didn't he still get outplayed by yours truly as well? Lin Fan did not think that he made much of a loss from this exchange. Not only had he gotten a backing for free, he had even picked up 2 storage rings. Big time. He had really earned big time. As for Feng Qingzi, he always felt that something wasn't too right about this. However, he just could not make out what it was. Let's go. Towards this disciple of his, Feng Qingzi felt that he could no longer use his heart to communicate with him. He had got to find a good chance to get back that storage ring someday. Lin Fan did not know where they were going right now. However, he was still doused in his bliss. Benefactor, what about the treasures you had promised this poor monk earlier on? Reverend Shakia's mind had been on those treasures in the storage ring. Therefore, he nudged Lin Fan's shoulders and asked. Hush, softer, do you think I'm going to let you lose out by following me? Lin Fan gave Reverend Shakia a slow, knowing glance. That's good. With that, this poor monk can have a peace of mind now. Reverend Shakia felt that his efforts had not gone to waste. Even though the journey had been tumultuous, he would still be getting some returns out of this. Passing through the void, Lin Fan realized that the powers of this cheap master of his were really quite profound. The speed at which they were traversing through the void was simply way too fast. Initially, Lin Fan had thought that the speed in which he traveled through the void was already quite heaven-defying. However, compared to this master of his, he realized that he wasn't even 1% of this speed. Old man, where are we headed to right now? Lin Fan asked curiously. Disciple, from here on forth, you've got to know the virtues of respect after taking me as your master. You've got to call this old fellow as revered master. Feng Qingzi's tone was solemn as though he was giving Lin Fan a lecture. All right then, revered master. Lin Fan replied helplessly. Right now, master is going to take you to the guarded ground. There are many geniuses there and it's the final sanctuary and hope for the beings of the thousands of races. Feng Qingzi replied. The last hope. Lin Fan was a little stunned. However, he understood after a while. The ancient saint world was such a huge place. If the beings of the thousands of races could survive for this long, they must have had some way of doing so on their own. Everything that he was witnessing right now was akin to scattered sand. If they wanted to overthrow the ancient race just like that without any bit of unity, it was definitely a fool's dream. There are 4 guarded grounds across the ancient saint world. Master here is the guardian of the vicinity governed by the districts of Cruel and Saint. Feng Qingzi said in a low voice. The guarded grounds are the safest places in the entire ancient saint world. Within every single guarded ground, only 1 million living beings can exist. If it exceeds that figure, they would automatically be purged. To think that there could be such an incredible place in the ancient saint world. Senior, could this be a paradise that you have opened up? Reverend Shakia asked in bewilderment. There had been no mentions of these within the records of the Buddha race. No, these are places that were formed by nature. It also stems from the basis of a balance of life between the world. Feng Qingzi replied. These guarded grounds are places where the ancient race beings have no way of entering. Even if it's an utmost being of the ancient race, they can't do so either. This is because there exists a delicate relationship between the guardians and the utmost beings of the ancient race. What sort of a delicate relationship? Lin Fan asked. Feng Qingzi looked over at Lin Fan slowly before he continued. The ancient race would never ever interfere with any issues of the guarded grounds, nor would they ever attack it. However, the guardians are not allowed to interfere with the issues of the beings of the thousands of races out there either. Therefore, we can only groom talents slowly while providing new blood for the thousands of races out there. Why can't you interfere? Lin Fan could not really understand the intentions behind this pact. That is because if we were to interfere, the utmost beings of the ancient race would come forth together. With ease, they can easily annihilate all the beings of the thousands of races. At the same time, this holds true for the 4 guardians as well. Other than the utmost beings, every single last ancient race being would be annihilated. With this explanation, Lin Fan finally understood the things. This was the same as the previous world he had come from. Every country had their own nuclear powers. However, there was a pact that no matter how hard they wanted to fight, they must never ever resort to using them. After all, once nuclear powers were activated, everything would be annihilated. In this case, the utmost beings and his revered master were the nuclear weapons. The moment they struck out, it would be a tragedy where no one could survive. Revered master, the 8 utmost beings of the ancient race are powerful beings of divine celestial level 10, eternal God state. What about us of the thousands of races? How many divine celestial level 10, eternal God state beings do we have? 4. Feng Qingzi replied. That can't be, right? I've seen many powerful beings of eternal God states. Lin Fan himself had subjugated 10 eternal God state beings all on his own. How could there possibly be only 4? Disciple, all of those that you've seen are not true eternal God state beings. They've only reached there in terms of power and the state itself. These are pseudo-eternal God state beings. However, a true eternal God state being would have to attain an eternal God seat from the heavens. But, the number of eternal God seats allowed in the world are always fixed. However, there exists a possibility from the unknowns. And, your master here is just searching for that possibility that can break us through these predestined lives of ours. Feng Qingzi said. By the sounds of my revered master, that possibility for breaking through this predestined life should be me. Lin Fan replied coolly. Disciple, yes, revered master, the skies are still bright. Can you stop daydreaming now? Feng Qingzi asked. Holy sh*t. Revered master, if it's not me, who else can it be? Lin Fan was a little indignant right now. Given his unparalleled potential, how could it not be him? It's a powerful female. Even though she did not attain the eternal God seat from the heavens, her battle powers are unparalleled. Because of that, even the ancient race are having much trouble dealing with her. It's just that. Sigh. Let's not talk about that for now. Feng Qingzi shook his head and sighed. Revered master, are you talking about the Firewater Empress? Suddenly, Lin Fan thought of that perverted B*tch. Disciple, how do you know about her? Oh, that's because she's my mistress. Lin Fan said as though it was all natural. Disciple, yes. Lin Fan was puzzled. Can you see a man up ahead blowing air towards a cow? Feng Qingzi felt that this disciple of his was getting a little too unreliable. Holy FCK. Revered master, you don't think I'm blowing my horn, are you? Ah, it's good that you get the meaning. Alright, we're here. Benefactor, I was blown to sleep by your bragging. Reverend Shakia woke up while rubbing his eyes. Lin Fan, Chapter 702, Guarded Ground. Chapter 702, Guarded Ground. Senior, is this the guarded ground? Reverend Shakia looked at a huge mountain peak ahead and could not help but exclaim in excitement. Lin Fan took a look over. He could not tell where the mountain peak started, but it was vast and without boundaries. From top to bottom, the chi of the living rushed through the heavens. Evidently, this place had transformed into quite the gem of a place. In the places where many living beings were present, as time went by, the chi of living beings would naturally form. And, since there weren't any wars and conflicts that happened at this place, the aura was even more exuberant, akin to a midday sun. The ancient saint world is ruled by the 8 utmost beings. With that, there are 4 guarded grounds. Each guarded ground is formed at the interlink of 2 districts governed by the utmost beings of the ancient race. Later on, I will send you guys in. Everything after that depends on yourselves. Feng Qingzi said. Holy sh*t. Revered master, you're not going to take care of us any longer. Lin Fan turned around and asked in a shocked manner. They had just reached this place, and this old man was all ready to hand them out into the wilderness without bothering about them at all. No matter what, he was the disciple of this old man. Where in the world would there be another master who behaved like this? That's right, senior, you can't do that. Now that he was in an unknown place, Reverend Shakia was starting to get the jitters. Feng Qingzi looked at both of them and let out a calm smile. You want me to take care of you? Sure. But my dear disciple, you've got to return those 2 storage rings to your master. Lin Fan exchanged glances with Reverend Shakia. As the saying goes, the master can only initiate the apprentice, but how he fares shall depend on his own cultivation. What type of era is this? This is one where everyone has to depend on themselves. How can we depend on others for help? Don't you agree with me, bald monk? How could Lin Fan bear to part with those 2 storage rings? If he really had to make a choice, then he would definitely choose these 2 storage rings over anything else. Given the status of this old man, the value of those treasures within the storage rings must definitely be astronomically high. After all, he had gotten to where he was today one step at a time, without guidance from anyone after all these years. He was sure that he would still progress further even if that remained the case in the future. Benefactor Lin is right, everything would have to depend on our own doings. Reverend Shakia nodded his head without hesitating at all. After all, he had a share of the treasures within the storage ring. If Feng Qingzi were to take it back, he would be left with nothing at all. Feng Qingzi looked at the both of them and felt exasperated in his heart. These were a bunch of beasts. This was especially so for that disciple of his. That guy was practically the bloody fighter jet of the entire squad of beasts. Forget that then. These are 2 tokens here. You guys had better keep them well. Without these 2 tokens, the both of you will not be able to enter this place. Feng Qingzi flicked his robes aside. From them, 2 gleaming thumb-sized tokens fused into the bodies of Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia. N-O-V-E in .c Ohm. All of a sudden, there was a feeling as though their blood and pulses were interconnected. By the time Lin Fan returned to his senses, Feng Qingzi had long left the place. Where has Senior gone to? Reverend Shakia asked puzzledly. Maybe he had a stomachache and headed off to the toilet. Lin Fan was feeling really good right now. He had really earned a big fortune this time around. Benefactor, is it time for us to split the loot now? The thought of the treasures within the storage ring had been nagging Reverend Shakia's mind the entire time. He was getting a little impatient now. What are you anxious about? Enter this guarded ground to take a look first. Let's go. Beckoning with his hand, Lin Fan flew towards that colossal mountain peak. A shimmering light barrier encompassed this entire mountain peak. There were flickering runic symbols on the light screen that looked extremely mysterious. It was as though they were connected to the heavens themselves. The moment Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia made contact with the light screen, they were sucked in instantly. It's truly pretty incredible, huh? When the light screen shone on their bodies, it was like a water of a stream passing through them. It was gentle and smooth, without any obstructions. After they entered the light screen, the scenery that awaited them was really different. To think that there would be such a place in the ancient saint world. Why hadn't I heard of this before? Reverend Shakia started mumbling to himself. I reckon that the upper echelons of your Buddha race must be hiding this fact from you guys, lest you guys decide to betray and run away from them the moment you find out about a sanctuary as such within the ancient saint world. Lin Fan said. Benefactor, your words make so much sense that this poor monk does not even know how to refute them anymore. Now that the treasures were in Lin Fan's hands, Reverend Shakia was prepared to follow Lin Fan's whims and wills in order to get a share of the loot. The mountain peak was infinitely huge as it swiveled all the way upwards. There were a total of 9 layers on the mountain peak. Each of them had houses constructed all over and were bustling with life and sound. For both Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia, this was quite the incredible place. Ever since he had entered the ancient saint world, Lin Fan had never seen a place as lively as this. And just as Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia were checking out the place, they found themselves surrounded by a group of people. Hi, there, would the both of you like to join our torrential party and head out to complete missions together in order to earn contribution points? From there, we shall reach the peak of life. A fatty with 2 long swords hung behind his back beamed brightly at Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia. Hey, these 2 lovely gentlemen. Would you guys like to join the party of your sister here? There are many breathtaking girls in your sister's party here. A devilish-looking girl whose breath was extremely fragrant circled around Lin Fan. Reverend Shakia chanted some Buddhist sutras. However, his gaze would involuntarily move towards that revealing chest of the devilish-looking girl, as he could not help but gulp down his saliva as well. They're so huge. Unable to contain himself, Reverend Shakia mumbled softly. However, he came to his senses almost immediately after as he closed his eyes shut. Hey, brothers there, join our infinite party. We can kill ancient race beings together and gain contribution points in order to exchange for some peerless martial arts. Let us become supremely powerful beings from there on. The benefits of our infinite party are fabulous. Not only do you get to feast on fish and meat for every meal, we even provide pills that you require for cultivation. Join us. We've got a weaponsmith of the ancient race here. Also, we've got a formation master. Do not miss this. Lin Fan was scared silly by the group of people there and dragged the bald monk to flee immediately. Bloody hell, what in the world was going on there? Why the hell did it seem like a recruitment fair or something? Benefactor, this place is simply way too scary. The waves are way too turbulent. Reverend Shakia gasped out. Bald monk, to think that you're one hell of a perverted bald monk. Was the chest of that chick really huge? Lin Fan asked. Yes, they were as mighty as the grand oceans and could encompass everything within them. Reverend Shakia praised. And just at this moment, a discussion began to build up within the group. The Sealing Heavens party is back. This time around, the Sealing Heavens party has accepted a heaven-tiered lower-graded mission. Completing that has a full 100,000 contribution points to it. Too strong. The Sealing Heavens party is way too strong. To think that they can even complete a mission of that difficulty. At this moment, a bright streak of light flashed out. Formidable and majestic, a figure with a sharp aura appeared on the public square. The leader of them all was a man who was elegant and poised. Possessing a beautiful face, he gave the masses a cold glare, then walked by them without giving them a second look. Ah, guys, check it out. They've managed to capture 3 weaponsmiths from the ancient race. Powerful, they're truly powerful. I wonder if the Sealing Heavens party is still recruiting anyone right now. If we could even join their party, we would definitely rise to the peaks of our lives. You had better stop dreaming. The entry requirements for the Sealing Heavens party is Divine Celestial Level 5 state. Have you even reached that yet? Highs, I'm just a little off from that. Benefactor, these guys are mighty. Seems like this poor monk here has truly been a frog in the well in the past. Looking at that party, Reverend Shakia sighed and lamented. They're so-so, I guess. Lin Fan replied indifferently. They didn't seem like anything much to him. However, when Lin Fan caught sight of this scene before him, his heart did feel a tinge of adrenaline. By the looks of it, this guarded ground was quite a decent place indeed. Chapter 703. Scammy Old Man. Chapter 703. Scammy Old Man. Everything that Lin Fan had witnessed at the public square was deeply engraved into his heart. Seemed like in this guarded ground, most people were grouped up together into parties and would head out for expeditions to kill ancient race beings together. Benefactor, where are we going now? Reverend Shakia was taking Lin Fan as the leader now. In this bloody damned place where he was totally unfamiliar with the system, he didn't dare to act casually as he wished. Just taking the scene at the public square as an example, that man from the ceiling heavens party wasn't weak at all. That powerful aura given off by him gave Reverend Shakia a repressing feeling. I want to look for a place for a good rest. Can't you tell that the management of this place is similar to that of a city? Look up there. There's an inn. Lin Fan pointed up into the distance. Right, we've got to take a good rest. That's right. However, isn't this place just too lively? To think that there would be such a place in the ancient saint world. Reverend Shakia remarked. Reverend Shakia had always just been cultivating usually and had rarely experienced things like these. Towards everything that was going on here, he was filled with curiosity. Right now, Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia were in the first layer. They did not know what the other 8 layers above were like. However, just this layer alone was quite the eye-opener for Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia. Divine Celestial Level 6, Law State. I'll rent myself out for 3 days in exchange for 1,000,000 Shenyang pills. On both sides of this broad pathway stood many people who hung notice boards over their necks, renting themselves out. Lin Fan could tell that the living beings here had quite the mind for business. Selling out a weaponsmith from the ancient race. He can craft out lower-graded spirit weapons. Going cheap at 300 million Shenyang pills. Benefactor, this place is really bustling with activity. I wonder if anyone would be up if this poor monk were to rent himself out. Looking at the happenings all around them, Reverend Shakia was bedazzled and asked inquisitively. You can go and give it a shot. Even though Lin Fan was equally startled, he maintained a look of composure so that he would not give off the impression of being a country bumpkin. Right now, it was as though everything before Lin Fan were nothing to be surprised about. However, there was something heartbreaking for Lin Fan. Damn it, once upon a time, he used to be so damn rich. The Shenyang pills in his possession were in the trillions. But one could look at him now, poor as a pauper. It was thankful that his mythical parasol tree could still cultivate out a certain amount of Shenyang pills daily. However, the amount of Shenyang pills cultivated out by the mythical parasol tree were still way too little. It wasn't even enough for all the living beings in his paradise to use for cultivation. Seemed like he had to find some way to earn even more Shenyang pills. Not long after, Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia came across an inn. However, when they heard the price of the rooms, Lin Fan's face was stumped. Both sirs, due to the fact that you guys are not in any parties, you're not eligible for any discounted rates. At the same time, you're only entitled to the lower grade rooms. A single night in a low grade room will cost you 100,000 Shenyang pills. The attendant said. Looking at the attendant, Lin Fan was exasperated. Staying here for even a single night was simply way too expensive. However, the cultivation state of this attendant wasn't weak either. To think that he was a divine celestial level 4, undying state being. Since he was new here, Lin Fan did not want to say anything much. Tossing out his arm, he took out the Shenyang pills cultivated by the mythical parasol tree. A small stream of Shenyang pills river flowed out. With a quick catch, the attendant received the Shenyang pills. Both sirs, please. After checking that the amount was right, the attendant welcomed them passionately. Within the house, benefactor, why is there only a single bed? Looking at the state of the house, Reverend Shakia gave off a pained look. Who am I supposed to ask if you're asking me? What kind of a messed up place is this with these many rules? Lin Fan was about to explode by now. Bald monk, since I gave every single Shenyang pill and you contributed nothing at all, I shall take the bed and you shall take the floor. Oh, no, benefactor, we're both men. I'm sure we can squeeze together. Look at how cold the floor is. This poor monk is going to fall ill. Reverend Shakia grimaced in torment. Cut the crap. Those who don't pay have got no rights. Don't you know? Lin Fan replied. The moment Reverend Shakia heard he gave up. He knew clearly how poor of a person he was. He was really just a pauper. All right, however, benefactor, now that we are here, I think it's time for us to split the loot. Reverend Shakia continued. I'd say, bald monk, not only are you perverted, you're greedy as well. How many times have you mentioned splitting the loot along the way now? Lin Fan was helpless now. Seemed like it was a sin keeping this bald monk by his side. What a burden. This guy was nothing but a burden. Oh benefactor, this poor monk has only gotten rid of 4 desires in his heart. I've yet to reach the peak state of enlightenment yet. Reverend Shakia said shamelessly. All right, I have to give them to you honestly anyway, bald monk. We'll split the loot now. But, you've got to stand there and let me check out what's within first, alright? Lin Fan commanded. Okay, this poor monk guarantees that I will not move. Reverend Shakia's face was gleeful right now. This was finally the moment to split the loot. The thought of it had him pretty excited. Sitting on the bed, Lin Fan was equally exhilarated. Ever since he had touched the storage rings, he had not checked out the items within at all. However, he made ample mental preparations to not get stunned by the sights within. This was going to be a crazy amount of wealth. Just the thought of it was getting him pretty heated up now. Benefactor, please hurry up. This poor monk is getting a little impatient now. Reverend Shakia couldn't wait any longer. What are you hurrying me for? Can't you tell that I'm nurturing the mood right now? Lin Fan tossed a side glance over at Reverend Shakia, then opened up one of the storage rings with extreme care. Oh treasures, yours truly is here. Lin Fan's heart was passionate like raging fire right now as he couldn't contain his excitement at all. However, when Lin Fan caught sight of the state within the storage ring, his face changed entirely and turned serious. The moment Reverend Shakia caught sight of this change in Lin Fan's expression, his heart stopped momentarily. Not good. Seems like the treasures within must be quite something for Benefactor Lin to be stumped as such. At this moment, Lin Fan took in a deep breath. His face was slightly pale as he held up the second storage ring with trembling fingers. Lin Fan could hardly bear to look at it right now. However, he still forced himself to peel open his eyelids to check out the second storage ring. Clang! Both storage rings dropped onto the bed as Lin Fan raised his head. 2 streams of tears were gushing down his cheeks. Revered master, I was wrong. Your disciple here is willing to return both storage rings to you. Lin Fan was pained beyond words right now. You smelly old man, you scammer. Benefactor, what's wrong? Reverend Shakia inquired. He did not know what was going on. At the same time, his heart was started once more. Could it be that the items within both storage rings were absolutely heaven-revolting? At this moment, in some mysterious place far away, Feng Qingzi sat down casually and twirled with 2 storage rings on his fingers, letting out a slight grin on his face. Ah, the old do have more experience indeed. ... Old man, yours truly is truly convinced this time around. To think that you've been putting on an act from the very beginning till now. Lin Fan truly did not know what else to say any longer. Benefactor, what's wrong? Reverend Shakia asked hurriedly. Take a look for yourself. Lin Fan tossed both storage rings over. Reverend Shakia opened up both storage rings fervently. However, in the blink of an eye, his face was filled with disbelief. How could there be nothing inside at all? Looking at the empty storage rings, Reverend Shakia was flabbergasted. These were supposed to be his treasures. How could it end up with nothing in them? Lin Fan sighed out. The difference in expectations rendered him speechless for quite some time. Smelly old man, if you had a bit of conscience, you would have left something at least. But look at it now. Nothing at all. What am I supposed to start his journey with? Damn it, wasn't this the promised peak path of his life that he would be treading on by following this guy? Seemed like he would have to start over from the very beginning all by himself once more. Chapter 704. Such Tragic Days. Chapter 704. Such Tragic Days. Next day, Lin Fan opened his eyes in a daze. However, the moment he opened them, he leapt in a shock. All he saw was this damned bald monk who had crawled into his bed since God knows when. Not only that, the hand of that bald monk was even lying on his chest. FCK me. Lin Fan was startled as he gave one massive kick to send the bald monk flying off the bed. "Oh, what are you up to early in the morning, Benefactor? Why are you in such a fiery temper?" Reverend Shakia rubbed his eyes as though he had yet to fully wake up from his slumber. Om. Bald monk, what did I tell you last night? I sleep on the bed and you get the ground, right? Why the hell did you come up to the bed? The moment Lin Fan thought of the fact that he had just spent an entire night sleeping with a bald monk, all the hair on his back stood up instantly. Who knew if this bald monk had engaged in any indecent acts with him through the night? Ah, how can this poor monk be sleeping on the bed? Benefactor, please do not malign this poor monk. Reverend Shakia said with a stern look as though he was determined to not let Lin Fan smear his reputation. Why you, Benefactor, this poor monk has just woken up. And here I am on the ground. How can I possibly be sleeping on your bed? You must have been dreaming, Benefactor. Reverend Shakia waved his hand dismissively. Forget it, cut the crap. Lin Fan cut off the conversation with his hand and did not want to carry on any longer. Tap, tap, just at this moment, the knocking sounds on the door came through. Bald monk, Go and open the door. Reverend Shakia shook his head helplessly. But, not long after opening the door, he came back. Benefactor, the attendant of the inn is asking us if we're going to extend our stay. If not, we've got to check out. Reverend Shakia said. Huh, what time is it now? Lin Fan was stunned as he looked out of the window. The sun had just risen, hadn't it? How could the time be up yet? Both sirs, our inn only allocates 24 hours per room. Therefore, now that the time has passed, I'm afraid you guys will have to check out. May I ask if the both of you are intending to continue with your stay? The attendant asked courteously. Unethical, this is an unethical shop. Lin Fan scolded in his heart. However, since he was unfamiliar with this place, he could not make a joke out of himself. Therefore, he just waved his hand and replied, not staying anymore. All right, ... Benefactor, are we really not staying any longer? After the attendant left, Reverend Shakia asked. How do we stay on? Do you have any Shenyang pills? Lin Fan rolled his eyes. Nopes. Reverend Shakia shrugged his shoulders and replied helplessly. Shouldn't that give you the answer? All right, time to go. First, we'll go create a party. Seems like if you're not part of a party, this place is one hell of an inconvenient place to be in. Even though Lin Fan wasn't all too sure about the situation right here just yet, he knew that one needed the status of a party member at the very least even if one wanted to stay in the inns. Otherwise, there would be no discounts. To think that as a divine celestial level 7 being, he would have to live life so pathetically. Eventually, both of them washed up and asked around before eventually finding out where to head to in order to register for a party. My apologies to the both of you. Since both of you do not have 10,000 contribution points together, you're not eligible to register for a party. The one attending to Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia was a sweet-looking chick. At this moment, she opened her eyes widely and replied sweetly. Holy FCK, what kind of a sh*t place is this? To think that you would need 10,000 contribution points to form a party. Bloody hell, is there really a need for these many rules? Lin Fan was on the brink of tears right now. Wasn't this one hell of a sham? However, Lin Fan put on a straight face and lowered his voice. Hey, chick. The both of us here are really strong. How about this? We'll owe the 10,000 contribution points first and you'll help us register in the meantime. Once we earn the contribution points, we'll come back and pay it to you. How does that sound? Benefactor chick, please give us some face. Reverend Shakia added with a smiling face. I'm sorry, both sirs. If you guys wish to create a party, you would require 10,000 contribution points. Otherwise, you can join up with some other parties to earn some contribution points in the meantime. The sweet chick replied patiently. Chick, you're not going to give us any face. First, Lin Fan checked out the situation around, then extended his head and replied with an unfriendly tone. Nopes. The chick shook her head still without the slightest bit of fear. Looking at how fearless the chick was seeming, Lin Fan was so done with it. Alright, chick, you're good. After we earn 10,000 contribution points, we'll come and look for you again. Lin Fan did not want to say anything anymore. The fellas here were way too straight-faced and did not know how to adapt at all. This was way too scary. Alright, I hope that you both will be able to earn your 10,000 contribution points as soon as possible. The chick beamed brightly, showing her white pearls. Bald monk, time to go. Lin Fan had not expected these many rules to be adhered to within the guarded ground, and was feeling quite helpless. Benefactor, what should we do then? How are we supposed to go earn the 10,000 contribution points? Reverend Shakia looked at Lin Fan with a pained look, wondering what they should do next. Lin Fan stuck his hands on his waist and glared up into the skies. His mouth twitched into a sneaky grin. HMPH. Isn't it just 10,000 contribution points? Can something as such truly cause yours truly to falter? Oh, Benefactor, you've got a plan. Reverend Shakia's face was filled with joy as he looked at Lin Fan with respect. Hee. Lin Fan did not reply and was just sniggering out. Bald monk, do you know what's the fastest way to get rich in this world? Lin Fan looked at the bald monk and asked. Reverend Shakia looked at Lin Fan and contemplated for a moment before shaking his head. Benefactor, this poor monk does not know. I knew that you didn't know, but don't worry. You'll know soon enough. Lin Fan smiled indifferently and brought Reverend Shakia away with him. Some random alley. Benefactor, I don't think it's quite right for us to do this. Reverend Shakia's eyes were darting around. He was both a little fearful and nervous. What are you afraid of? Isn't it just a robbery? Listen to my commands. I ensure you that it'll be reliable. Lin Fan was wearing a black-colored mask, revealing nothing else except his eyes. Benefactor, this poor monk can't do something as such. Reverend Shakia shook his head once more. Bald monk, do you want us to trapped here suffering daily and living outside every single day? Take a look around you. This place is literally gold mine that's filled with contribution points scattered all around. Look at those restaurants where these fellas are feasting on meat and fish. Look how much they're enjoying themselves. Given our cultivation state here, we could probably be somebody and all, you know. But, look at the days we're having to go through right now. How can we let these petty 10,000 contribution points stand in our path? Lin Fan continued. Reverend Shakia thought about it for a moment. If I don't enter hell, who would? Everything I'm doing right now is to help you, benefactor. I believe that my Buddha will not fault me for this. Yes, that's the way. Go, and I'll be waiting for you right here. Lin Fan held the 9-5 legendary brick in his hand as his eyes shone even brighter. There were many passers-by on the main street. Reverend Shakia looked at all the people who were walking and thought of the words that Benefactor Lin had told him. He had to look for the type of dumb fool that was described by Benefactor Lin. Instantly, Reverend Shakia's eyes sparkled as he headed up. Amitabha, benefactor, this poor monk here has noticed that there is a holy light that is shining upon you from the heavens itself. This poor monk here has an item that can guarantee you instant success in your life. How about you follow this poor monk so that I can go retrieve it for you, benefactor? Reverend Shakia's emotions were sincere, as though he was speaking the very truth. Lin Fan snuck a peek and grinned out. Good job, bald monk. With this opening speech crafted out by yours truly, there can be no one who wouldn't be fooled over it. Standing before Reverend Shakia right now was a fatty who was rotund and stumpy. His wide eyes were opened really wide right now while blinking furiously. Are you trying to lure me into that alley with YUS so that you can steal the contribution points I have with me? The fatty stuttered. Ah, benefactor, how did you know that? The moment Reverend Shakia heard that, he was stunned. Could this benefactor have a way of peeking through the hearts of others? I knew it. That's because when I had just arrived here, I fell for the same trick. However, they were thankfully caught by the patrols here and locked up for an entire year. Bald monk, I'm advising you. Repent while you can. I've got 100 contribution points here to give to you. You have to live life righteously, and must never ever do something as dodgy as such again. The fatty stuttered out more. After that, he drew out a small river of contribution points in thin air from his storage ring and handed it over to Reverend Shakia. Thank you for the slap on the head, benefactor. This poor monk understands your intentions. Reverend Shakia lamented while sending him off with his eyes. As for Lin Fan, who was hiding there and watching every single thing fall through, he was rendered entirely speechless. Chapter 705, Renting Yourself Out. Chapter 705, Renting Yourself Out. Bald monk, you've truly disappointed me. Lin Fan had no other attachments in this life at this moment. To think that he would meet with such a noob teammate. One look and it was easy to tell that the fatty boy would be a sure scam. To think that the bald monk would fail at luring him over. No, benefactor, even though I was seen through by him earlier on, this bald monk bore the intention of holding him back forcefully. However, just at that moment, the hair on my back stood up as I realized that a consciousness was locking itself on me. Evidently, I must have attracted the attention of the patrols of this place. If this poor monk had really gone on with it, I would have been taken down instantly. As someone of the Buddha race, the sixth senses of Reverend Shakia were really sharp. Every single move and action would be made known to him. That can't be, right? Bald monk, you're not trying to scam me because of your failure, are you? Lin Fan did not sense anyone peeking on him at all. I'm absolutely for real, Reverend Shakia replied. Alright then, seems like robbery is out of the question for this place then. I guess we'll have to think of some other way then. Lin Fan trusted the words of this bald monk. It was bustling with life in the public square. Opportunities were always discovered by one's own efforts. If anyone intended to wait for opportunity to just come knocking by itself, that would be something absolutely impossible. Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia stood on the public square and looked at everyone passing by while thinking. The main thing is that I'm all out of materials. Otherwise, I could easily craft out a spirit weapon and sell it for a good price. Back when Lin Fan had his hands full with materials, he did not take them as anything important at all. However, now that he was in urgent need of materials, he found himself in possession of none. Benefactor, look, there seems to be something going on up ahead. Reverend Shakia said with a dazed expression. His attention was caught by some squabbling that was going on ahead. The moment Lin Fan heard this, his eyes sparkled. Let's go. Places that are filled with strife are definitely places where devils are born. I think the chance for us to get rich is here. Based on his many years of experience, Lin Fan knew that there was always advantages to be gained where there were conflicts going on. As long as he could gather 10,000 contribution points, he could start receiving missions after that. By then, the contribution points would definitely come flowing. As long as he had these contribution points, he could exchange them for many items. Skills, medicinal elixirs, treasures. In fact, even Dao weapons. Fang Zan, what's the meaning of this? He has already been rented by our Rose Party, and now that we're about to start on the mission, how could you snatch him away just like that? A woman with a frosty expression shouted out. This woman was the party leader of the Rose Party. This time around, they had obtained an Earth-tiered upper-graded mission. However, due to the considerations that the risks might be significant, she had spent 20,000 contribution points in renting a powerful being of Divine Celestial Level 7, all to one state. But now that they were on the brink of setting out for the mission, this powerful being that she had rented out suddenly said that he didn't want to go any longer. In fact, he even returned the 10,000 contribution points deposit that she had paid. This was a blow for the Rose Party. An Earth-tiered upper-graded mission was extremely difficult. No matter who it was that received it, they would have to first pay a certain fixed deposit for accepting the mission. If they did not complete the mission within the allocated time frame, the deposit would be forfeited instantly. N-O-V-E in .c ohm. Lu Qiangwei, you shouldn't look for me for stuff as such. As the saying goes, the offer goes to the highest bidder. It's the price that you set out that was way too low. Naturally, the other party has the right to back out of the deal. Standing before Lu Qiangwei was a man with a hulking figure. His skin had a slightly dark golden tinge to it. By the looks of it, he seemed like someone of the giant race. His physical body state was also pretty strong to a certain extent. Fang Zan, you can't go overboard. Even on a day-to-day basis, you have been pitting yourself against our Rose Party. This time around, our Rose Party has acquired an Earth-tiered upper-graded mission. How could you behave like this? Lu Qiangwei's eyes were almost ready to blaze out with flames. It wasn't difficult to look for Divine Celestial Level 7 beings within the guarded ground. However, now that they were on the verge of setting out, how could they find someone they were satisfied with to replace him this easily? Earth-tiered upper-graded mission. I'll have you know that this time around, the Zan Kui Party has received a heaven-tiered lower-graded mission. Compared to that mission of your Rose Party, ours is way more difficult. Therefore, we would require more powerful beings. However, if you can afford to pay more contribution points than we did, this powerful being here would naturally join your party. Fang Zan replied. Lu Qiangwei's face was cold right now. This Fang Zan was too damn accursed. The contribution points awarded for an Earth-tiered upper-graded mission was only 60,000 to begin with. If she were to spend more contribution points on this powerful being, what would the rest of her party members get? By then, wouldn't the mission that they would have worked so hard for be given away for free? Party leader, we can do it ourselves. The Rose Party was a full female party. Each of them had an extraordinary strength to them. On an average, they were around Divine Celestial Level 4 and 5. If one were to gather their strength together, they would be a pretty formidable fighting force. Fang Zan, you're shameless and despicable. Lu Qiangwei shot him an icy look. At the same time, she looked at that powerful being she had rented with a nasty look. Now that she was thinking about it properly, this might have all just been a plot of Fang Zan to ensure that she did not get to complete her mission at all. Highs, you guys of the Rose Party are really way too weak. I've already said this in the past. If you guys depended on our Zan Kui Party, you would definitely be better off than you are right now. Furthermore, the bunch of you are extremely ravishing. If you were to be caught by the ancient race beings during your mission, the outcome would honestly be really tragic. Fang Zan shook his head helplessly. Bald monk, the time to act has come. Do you want to do it or should I? Lin Fan asked. How can you be troubled over such a small matter, benefactor? This can be settled by this poor monk alone. Reverend Shakia was gleeful all over, yet he replied with a solemn expression. Then go on, Lin Fan replied. Amitabha. At this moment when Lu Qiangwei and Fang Zan were arguing, a Buddhist chant rang out. Female benefactor here, you do not have to argue with him. Someone with such a devious heart will get his due deserts. Reverend Shakia put on a serious and solemn disposition as he walked over slowly. Bald monk, what did you say? The moment Fang Zan heard these words, he was angered. However, when he felt the aura emanating from this bald monk, he held it back. The aura given off by the bald monk was really strong. This was no normal aura. Benefactor, did this poor monk say anything at all? Reverend Shakia replied with a smiling face. Master there, my greetings. The moment Lu Qiangwei saw that it was someone from the Buddha race, she retracted that angry look on her face and greeted with a compassionate expression. Female benefactor here, since this mission is difficult, how about you rent this poor monk here? Even though this poor monk isn't all that strong, I'm a divine celestial level 7 state being nevertheless. The moment Lu Qiangwei heard this, she was momentarily overwhelmed by joy. The cultivation state of this being from the Buddha race before her was extremely profound. Even though he was also a divine celestial level 7 state being, the aura being given off by him was way stronger than the powerful being she had rented earlier on. Master, how many contribution points would you ask for? Lu Qiangwei knew that it did not come cheap to rent a powerful being as such. Even though one could rent others with Shengyang pills as well, most of them would demand contribution points instead. After all, Shengyang pills could be exchanged with contribution points. 10,000 shall be enough. Reverend Shakia chuckled. Ah, Lu Qiangwei was stumped, to think that it would be this cheap. Even Fang Zan had not expected this bald monk to be this cheap by asking for just 10,000 contribution points. Haha, to think that even beings of the Buddha race would be bewitched by the world of materialism to think of money. Fang Zan laughed out. Lu Qiangwei, don't think that you can complete this mission for sure just because you had managed to find another divine celestial level 7 state being. I've checked through your mission beforehand. The difficulty of that mission is similar to this heaven-tiered lower-graded mission of mine. Given your current strength, you guys are most likely going to fail it. Looking at the gloating expression on Fang Zan's face, Lu Qiangwei felt her heart tightening momentarily as she had an ominous feeling about it. Bald monk, are you done with the talking? At this moment, Lin Fan stood forth and asked. Benefactor, this poor monk here is still negotiating. I'm waiting for this female benefactor to reply. Reverend Shakia said. When Lin Fan made his appearance, Lu Qiangwei was bewildered, wondering what all of these meant. Fang Zan turned his gaze towards Lin Fan as well, not knowing what this guy was up to. Chick, how goes your decision? 10,000 contribution points and we'll form up to go. Not only that, we'll guarantee your safety. We'll go and return before the end of the day. This is my assurance of quality. Lin Fan called out. Ah, Lu Qiangwei froze up yet again as though she was unable to recover from the shock of this announcement. Chick, say something. Deal or no deal? If it's a deal, we'll go. If it's not, say it. Everyone's time is precious. Let's not waste it. Lin Fan did not know what was up with everyone here. Why in the hell did everyone have a retarded reaction time? He was pretty speechless about all this. Chapter 706. So much difficulty for 10,000 contribution points. Chapter 706. So much difficulty for 10,000 contribution points. Lu Qiangwei was taking quite a while to recover from the shock. This was the first time she came across someone so straightforward. Two powerful beings all for 10,000 contribution points. This was something definitely impossible in her eyes. In the guarded ground, 10,000 contribution points could neither be considered as a lot nor little. For the truly powerful beings, 10,000 contribution points would be akin to a light drizzle of rain, pretty insignificant. And for a divine celestial level 7, all to one state being, they could be considered as truly powerful beings in the guarded ground. Party leader, you've got to be careful that this isn't a scam going on here. A girl that looked like a Lolita within the Rose Party warned softly. Lu Qiangwei nodded her head. She had her own misgivings as well. Now that she was about to set out for her mission, the Zan Kui party had suddenly appeared all of a sudden to snatch away the powerful being that she had rented. And now, there were two powerful beings all of a sudden that were available for rent at just 10,000 contribution points. There was definitely something fishy about this in Lu Qiangwei's point of view. There was no free lunch in this world. There could only be a possibility for this then. These two powerful beings must have been sent here by Fang Zan. Either that, or they must be plotting something once they got out of this place. However, these were just conjectures on Lu Qiangwei's part at this moment without any concrete evidence. The acceptance of this earth-tiered upper-graded mission was extremely important for her. If she were to give up just like this, the losses would be terrible. Both divine celestial level 7 powerful beings, I don't think that 10,000 contribution points should be anything important for you guys. I wonder what motives you guys have. Lu Qiangwei spoke up and asked. Lin Fan did not feel like replying at this moment. At times, overthinking was a sin indeed. Bloody hell, who in the world said that 10,000 contribution points weren't important? Your daddies here were lacking in nothing but these 10,000 contribution points. While Lin Fan did not reply, Fang Zan, on the other hand, began to laugh out. Haha, Lu Qiangwei, is there a need to ask? These two guys must be harboring some ill intentions of wanting to have some sort of a relationship with your party, duh. The moment Lu Qiangwei heard this, she froze up for a moment. Even though she was discontented with the words of Fang Zan, he did have a point there. Even at the guarded ground, things like these would happen from time to time. Involuntarily, Lu Qiangwei began to worry. Everyone from the Zan Kui party began to laugh out. Oh, that makes sense. Once they get outside with these two divine celestial level 7 state beings following them, everyone from the Rose party would be nothing but fishes on chopping boards. Look at those breathtaking beauties of the Rose party, with their long, slender legs. It's truly pretty irresistible. Look at that monk with his evil glint and that man over that with that frosty demeanor. They must definitely be cruel people with some pretty intense fetishes. Ha ha ha, ... You guys. The moment the members of the Rose party heard these words, their faces turned cold as they glared at everyone in rage. However, they couldn't refute them at all. At this moment, the atmosphere in the area was really icy. They had come to a stalemate. All of the people gathered around spectating giggled out without speaking at all. It was as though they were watching a show right now. The reputation of the Zan Kui party within the guarded ground was pretty prominent. They were quite the strong party. Therefore, there wasn't anybody who would dare to stand out and say anything against them. Benefactor, are these guys sick? Reverend Shakia said with a rage burning in his heart. Lin Fan's brows went straight as he glared fixedly at the members of the Zan Kui party. Were these guys courting death? Did they think that it was so easy for yours truly to earn 10,000 contribution points? And yet here they were yapping nonsense out of their mouths. If this weren't courting death, what was? What are you guys looking at? Did I hit it on the spot and your embarrassment has turned into anger instead? Why, do you feel like walloping me? Come on then, I'd like to see just what you can do to me. The moment Fang Zan caught the look on Lin Fan's face, he burst out laughing even harder. At this moment, Lin Fan did have the urge to strike out. How could the authority of the great mother *C King be trampled around by some piss kid like this? Chick, how goes it? Say something. Deal or no deal? Tell me if it isn't a deal. Lin Fan glared straight at the Rose party asking. This. Lu Qiangwei hesitated at this moment and was caught at a loss of what to do. She was truly starting to harbor some suspicions towards these two men now. After contemplating for a while, Lu Qiangwei clenched her teeth and replied, I'm sorry, both gentlemen. The Rose party has decided to give up on this mission. After she said these words, Lu Qiangwei felt as though she had lost something in her heart. She did not dare to make this bet. Not with the lives of her party members on the line. Ha ha ha, Fang Zan laughed out wildly at this moment, evidently pleased. Lin Fan shut his eyes gently, unable to tolerate this any longer. This was way too Mother C King much. Was it really so difficult to earn 10,000 contribution points? And this chick as well. Why the hell did she have to overthink things? Couldn't this be real at all? Did yours truly really look like a bad guy? Lin Fan gripped his fists tightly. He was burning with rage right now. There was a blazing fire that needed an immediate quench to it. Seemed like he could only vent it out on this Fang Zan then. PSSSSSCH. At this moment, the barrier vibrated as a figure appeared instantly. The moment this figure appeared, she started screaming frantically. Is there anyone WHO can help me? N-O-V-E in .C ohm. At this moment, everyone's attention was drawn over, wondering what was going on. This figure was a woman. By the looks of it, she wasn't too old. Her cultivation state was a divine celestial level 4 state being as well. However, she was unusually frantic right now. Isn't that a member of the 100 Battle Party? That's right, hadn't the 100 Battle Party gone out on a mission? Why is she the only one back? That mission seemed to be an Earth-tiered lower-graded one. It shouldn't be too difficult. But by the looks of it, there seems to be some sort of a mishap. Is there anyone who can help me? Anyone, I'm willing to pay with all my contribution points. All I need is to seek everyone's help. There were many wounds on this chick. Even though they weren't fatal, the look of it was still pretty gutting nevertheless. What's happening? Hadn't your 100 Battle Party gone out for a mission? Why are you the only one here? A passerby asked curiously. As we were completing our mission, we ran into the ancient race army. Initially, we could have escaped, However, we bumped into the Sovereign King Thunder. The chick replied with a frightful expression as she looked at the crowd, is there anyone who can help us? My party members have been caught by the Sovereign King Thunder. The chick was looking despaired right now. Sovereign King Thunder was really strong, and his methods were cruel. Within the guarded ground itself, Sovereign King Thunder alone was a heaven-tiered middle-graded mission. However, there had been no one who had dared to take on the mission at all. Even if there were some powerful beings who had accepted it, none of them had ever made it back. The moment everyone present heard these words, they were stunned. Sovereign King Thunder, that's a horrifying existence. That's right, who would have the capabilities to rescue everyone from the hands of Sovereign King Thunder? And that's not even including the ancient race army that's there with the Sovereign King Thunder. They're not something to reckon with. Seems like the 100 battle party shall disappear from here on forth. At least, there's one survivor. ... The chick looked at everyone in anguish. She then turned her sights to Fang Zan, please, I'm begging you. Save my party members. As long as you save them out, our 100 battle party is willing to be the followers of your Zan Kui party. Fang Zan waved his hand dismissively without hesitation, you've got to be kidding. That's the Sovereign King Thunder we're talking about. Anyone who goes is just committing suicide. I think you had better stop thinking about it. The moment Sovereign King Thunder strikes, the only ones who might even have a chance are those immensely strong powerful parties. Other than that, there's no one in the entire guarded ground who can help you guys. The moment she heard these words, the chick's tears began to pour down like a heavy rain. How could anyone from their 100 battle party have the capabilities to seek the help of those immensely strong powerful parties? Highs, seems like the 100 battle party is really unfortunate. That party leader of theirs is a divine celestial level 7 state being. To think that he would be done in just like that. Tragic. This is a tragedy indeed. 10,000 contribution points. Rent us. Deal or no deal? Say something. Don't waste any time. At the brink of the chick's utmost despair, a figure appeared before her eyes. The chick raised her head and looked at Lin Fan. For a moment, she did not know how to speak up anymore. Lin Fan looked at the chick before him and asked once more, 10,000 contribution points. Deal or no deal? You guys had better not go send yourselves to death. That's the Sovereign King Thunder. Lu Qiangwei remarked. Look at those two fellas. They must be going nuts dreaming about contribution points. This is just courting death. Fang Zan burst out laughing. Lin Fan took in a deep breath. He swung his head furiously and glared at Fang Zan. You had better mother *cking shut your *cking mouth for your father here. Do you dare to believe that your father here will *cking kill you if you dare to spout one more single *cking bit of *cking nonsense? Lin Fan was truly incensed right now. Fang Zan could sense a sharp killing intent that bolted out from the other party, causing his entire body to jerk and shiver. His heart stopped beating for a moment as he felt as though he had just been sent into the 9 hells. Hurry up and say something. Deal or no deal, Lin Fan said. If you continue to hesitate, you had better not blame me if your party members are all slaughtered by the ancient race. The moment the chick heard this, she did not dare to think any longer as she nodded her head furiously. Where did you guys bump into the Sovereign King Thunder? Lin Fan asked. At the Twin Dark Valleys, 30,000 miles away from here. The chick replied hurriedly. Forget it, come with us. The moment Lin Fan thought of the fact that he was still pretty unfamiliar with the territory of the utmost being, Saint, he did not dilly-dally and dragged the chick with him into the void instantly. Bald Monk. Follow up. Certainly, Benefactor. Chapter 707. The Meaning of True Horror. Chapter 707. The Meaning of True Horror. After Lin Fan and the others had left, a wave of discussions burst forth from the people at the public square. They're really heading over. Did they not know how horrifying the Sovereign King Thunder is? The Sovereign King Thunder is one of the key generals under the utmost being, Saint. His mastery over thunders is incredibly tyrannical. With a single wave of his hand, the entire sky would be filled with thunderbolts. HMPH. They're just courting death. Fang Zan scoffed coldly. The Sovereign King Thunder is someone extremely strong. Even someone of the same cultivation state wouldn't be a match for him. Lu Qiangwei, you guys had better thank me. If not for me, your Rose Party might very well follow in the tracks of the 100 battle party during your mission because of the egos of those two people you would have rented. Lu Qiangwei wasn't looking too good right now. However, everything that Fang Zan said did make some sense as well. Party leader, the 100 battle party had once saved us. No matter what, we've got to try holding them back. We mustn't allow the last remaining survivor of the 100 battle party to go send herself to death. A member of the Rose Party commented. Lu Qiangwei hesitated for a moment. All right. We'll go hold them back. No matter what, we mustn't allow the 100 battle party to be annihilated entirely. Lu Qiangwei and the others instantly turned into long streaks of lights as they chased behind Lin Fan's group. HMPH. The moment Fang Zan saw this, he could not help but snort out coldly, we'll leave too. It's time to complete our own mission. As for everyone left standing at the public square, they were entirely flabbergasted right now. To them, today was akin to a fantasy tale that was absolutely unbelievable. Rescuing people from the hands of Sovereign King Thunder. How was that possible? Anyone in this world would undoubtedly be sending themselves to their deaths. The might of Sovereign King Thunder was supreme. There had been many powerful parties who had attempted to kill the Sovereign King Thunder only to end up being annihilated entirely and become his food. From then on, there hadn't been anyone who had dared to confront him any longer. Benefactor, for us to be heading forth this haphazardly, are we making a decision that we should be giving more thought to? Reverend Shakia asked in a soft tone. HMPH, what's there to think about? Who knows how many people have been massacred by this sovereign king of the ancient race? Lin Fan's expression was indifferent. It didn't matter what he had to do in order to obtain these 10,000 contribution points of his. Wasn't it just to kill a sovereign king right now? What was so difficult about that? The moment the chick who had been worrying about her party members from the start heard these words, her face was lost. She did not know if these two people would be able to rescue her party members. Lin Fan was powerful, therefore, the speed at which he traversed through the void was extremely fast as well. In the blink of an eye, who knew how many miles he had crossed? The twin dark valleys is right up ahead. Lin Fan pointed over at two mountain peaks that were as huge as two colossal giants standing side by side. Yes, it's right up ahead. That was where our party was supposed to complete our mission. However, to think that we would bump into Sovereign King Thunder instead. Sovereign King Thunder is simply way too terrifying. Even after our party leader used all his strength, he wasn't a match for the Sovereign King Thunder at all. The moment the chick thought of everything that had happened earlier on, her face was paler than anything else. Terrifying. When yours truly arrives later, it will be time to let this Sovereign King Thunder know what true terror means. Lin Fan laughed coldly as he completely disregarded the other party. As for the Rose Party, they had been searching for a long time now. However, they could not catch sight of the figures ahead of them. Just where in the world had they gone to? How in the world are they so fast? Lu Qiangwei looked into the distance with a solemn expression. Up till now, she hadn't caught sight of a single trace of them at all. Party leader, could the both of them have abducted her to somewhere far away to do something bad to her? The members of the Rose Party expressed their concerns. The moment Lu Qiangwei heard these words, her spirits were rattled instantly. We'll head up and check it out. However, we mustn't get too close to the twin dark valleys. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Yes, understood. Twin dark valleys. The ancient race army had set up base here as the Sovereign King Thunder was seated on a throne that was constructed from lightning. There were lightning currents cruising around his body like dragons, filled with a tyrannical and devastating energy. Sovereign King, we've locked up those living beings. One of the ancient race legatus knelt down before the Sovereign King and reported. All right. Sovereign King Thunder nodded his head with a complete disregard for these ants. At the territory of the utmost being, Saint, all the living beings were suppressed by the ancient race on the surface. However, those living beings that were in hiding snuck around and would appear from time to time, making them extremely difficult to hunt out. And for the Sovereign King Thunder, those living beings he hated the most were those from the guarded ground. All of those living beings there walked around the world and brought much trouble for the ancient race. However, the ancient race could not get close to the guarded grounds. Hence, they could not annihilate those living beings there. But, those living beings who dared to come out of it were all suppressed down by the Sovereign King Thunder accordingly as and when he found them. When a Sovereign King descended, his might would be unparalleled. There was no one out in the world who would dare to defy them. Within the cages of the ancient race, there were dozens of living beings right now. Their auras were withered as though they could die at any moment. To think that we would bump into the Sovereign King Thunder. One of the hulking men had his arms severed. However, his expression was still resolute as ever. For these powerful beings, regrowing their limbs wasn't something tough. But now that the energy within his body had been expended entirely, there was nothing for him to draw from in order to regrow them. This hulking man was the party leader of the 100 Battle Party, Lai Beizan. I wonder if Chu Yu has managed to make it back to the guarded ground. Another party member laid by the side and mentioned feebly. All I can hope for is that Chu Yu would manage to live on properly after returning to the guarded ground. With the descent of Sovereign King Thunder, there would be no one from the guarded ground who would dare to save us. Lai Beizen's eyes were looking at the distance with a forlorn expression. However, that look of his changed into one of astonishment immediately. Someone's here. What? Could it be that Chu Yu has been captured by them? The moment the party members nearby who were drained of their auras heard the words of their party leader, they started panicking as well. At this moment, Sovereign King Thunder, who was seated on that lightning throne, smirked coldly at the side of his lips, to think that the ant who had escaped would return with more ants. Ho ho. Chick, why are you trembling? When Lin Fan caught sight of Sovereign King Thunder at this moment, he grinned out. However, the chick beside him was shivering uncontrollably as though she was really afraid. That's the Sovereign King Thunder. She pointed her finger and replied with fear. Within the void, an illusory figure of a thunder devil floated gently behind the Sovereign King Thunder. His might was supreme as his overbearingness reigned over the world. So what if it's the Sovereign King Thunder? Just remember the 10,000 contribution points of mine, Those friends of yours are caught. But by the looks of it, they don't seem to be in danger of their lives. Lin Fan extended his consciousness. Very quickly, he found the members of the 100 battle party that were being locked up in the midst of the ancient race. The arrival of Lin Fan and the others had the ancient race beings growling out ferociously. However, without the orders of their sovereign king, none of them dared to make any unnecessary actions. Chu Yu, why are you here? Lai Beizan yelled out. Party leader, I've brought people here with me to save you guys. The both of them say they can rescue all of you. The moment Chu Yu heard the voice of her party leader, an infinite amount of hope bubbled in her heart. Save us. Who in the world can save us from the hands of the Sovereign King Thunder? Lai Beizan could not help but scoff at themselves with a tone of irony. His gaze then sharpened up as he looked at the two people beside Chu Yu. *****, why did you have to come? Don't you guys know that the Sovereign King Thunder is here? Lai Beizan's was burning with rage in his heart right now. If these two guys wanted to die alone, then so be it. Why in the world did they have to bring Chu Yu with them? Alright, shut up in the face of yours truly. Lin Fan then cast his sights on that figure in the void. You're the Sovereign King Thunder. Haha, that's your Sovereign King here. Since you dare to head forth, you've got some guts indeed. All of a sudden, the Sovereign King Thunder bolted up and shrugged his body. With that, the entire world darkened as thunderbolts swarmed the heavens and swam in them like gigantic dragons. A series of booming explosions cracked through the heavens. At this moment, under the fearsome might of the Sovereign King Thunder, everyone other than Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia felt their hearts thumping furiously once more. Chapter 708. If yours truly strikes, you will have no chance of fighting back. Chapter 708. If yours truly strikes, you will have no chance of fighting back. Ho ho, Sovereign King Thunder, it isn't yours truly that has the guts. You are the one with the guts. To think that you aren't scramming away just yet even though yours truly is here. Seems like your balls are pretty big, Lin Fan wasn't fazed in the least bit as he tossed back his robes. Hands behind his back, he looked at the Sovereign King Thunder straight in the eye. Everyone from the 100 battle party watched this before sighing out eventually. Seemed like this time around, the 100 battle party was doomed to be annihilated for sure. To think that Chu Yu would bump into such a retard who would dare to act so brazenly before the Sovereign King Thunder. Chu Yu, hurry up and run. Everyone from the 100 battle party shouted out. They did not bear the slightest bit of hopes towards these two men that Chu Yu had brought over. Party leader, the Twin Dark Valley is right up ahead. If we were to continue heading forth, it's very likely that we'll be discovered by the Sovereign King Thunder. A member of the Rose Party mentioned. Just where have they gone to? Lu Qiangwei asked perplexedly. Perhaps they have never been here from the start. What sort of an existence is the Sovereign King Thunder? Anyone with some normal brains would definitely not send themselves to death for nothing. That's right, the both of them are only divine celestial level 7 state beings. There's no way they are a match for Sovereign King Thunder. The Rose Party was hidden somewhere and gossiping about this right now. Growl. All of a sudden, a dragon's roar rang out across the world. Instantly, all the members from the Rose Party felt the powers within their bodies rumbling all of a sudden. Their powers were even going berserk at this moment. They then let out looks of astonishment. How could this be? This is... Lu Qiangwei did not know what was going on right now. However, the howl from earlier seemed to be an extremely profound skill that was cast. All of a sudden, a voice made its way into everyone's ears. Sovereign King Thunder, make your move. No matter how many of these underlings you send, they're all going to die for sure. ... They've really gone for the Sovereign King Thunder. How could things turn out as such? Just what sort of courage do they possess for them to seek out the Sovereign King Thunder? Let's go and check out what's going on. Lu Qiangwei was filled with questions. ... At this moment, Lin Fan's consciousness had descended. Opening his mouth, the heavenly dragon's music rang forth and suppressed the ancient race legatus entirely. Seems like you've got some skills. Sovereign King Thunder laughed out frostily. He wasn't bothered in the least bit about the death of his legatus. After all, it was just an ant that had died. I don't have some skills. I'm extremely skillful. Sovereign King Thunder, I'd advise you to come at me first. Otherwise, by the time yours truly has to strike out, you'd probably have no chance to retaliate at all. Lin Fan said indifferently. Everyone from the 100 battle party was stumped by now. To think that the helper found by Chu Yu would be this strong. With a single move, he annihilated a legatus of the ancient race. And that wasn't the only thing. His words towards the Sovereign King Thunder were extremely tyrannical. It was as though he was afraid of nothing between this world. Just what sort of a person is he? How have I not seen him within the guarded ground before in the past? The name of Sovereign King Thunder within the guarded ground is infamous and known by everyone. Does this guy really have some capabilities, or is he just making a farce? Everyone from the 100 battle party could not help but have these doubts bubble in their hearts. However, for everyone from the 100 battle party, this level of strength was far from enough. After all, the scariness of the Sovereign King Thunder wasn't something that mere ancient race legatus could measure up to. Even if it were 10,000 ancient race legatus together, they wouldn't be a match for the Sovereign King Thunder. Far across in the distance, the Rose Party remained hidden. Party leader, check it out. They're over there. How scary. The descent of the Sovereign King Thunder and that ancient race army. Even from such a distance, I can feel the tremors being emanated out from their aura. A maiden wearing black robes from the Rose Party commented. Don't talk now. Someone as strong as the Sovereign King Thunder would be able to sense any bit of disturbance in the air. If we're discovered by him, we might all just die right here. However, it does seem like there's no chance of anyone from the 100 battle party making it out alive any longer. Looking at everything before her, Lu Qiangwei shook her head in regret. For a divine celestial level 7 state being to want to go head-on against the Sovereign King Thunder. This was unquestionably a fool's act. At the same time, the current Lu Qiangwei was relieved that she did not rent these two guys. If she had, who knew what sort of troubles they would have caused. However, the guts of them alone was pretty admirable from Lu Qiangwei's point. If she had not witnessed this for herself, she would not have dared believe that someone would dare to go against the Sovereign King Thunder as such. The Sovereign King Thunder was not weak at all. This was especially due to that godlike mastery of thunder that he had, which was extremely sick. For any single living being, the power of thunder was one hell of a horrifying existence. Benefactor, do you require any help? Reverend Shakia asked. From the body of Sovereign King Thunder, Reverend Shakia was sensing an extremely repressing amount of power. Seemed like this guy wasn't simple at all. Bald monk, does yours truly look like I need any help? Lin Fan reversed the question. In this poor monk's opinion, you do not need any indeed, benefactor. Reverend Shakia replied. Haha, that's right. Lin Fan burst out laughing before turning his sight to Sovereign King Thunder. Yours truly has allowed you to strike at me first. But, since you did not do so, don't come blaming that yours truly did not give you any chance then. Instantly, Lin Fan began walking towards Sovereign King Thunder briskly. Lin Fan had killed so many Sovereign Kings by now. Even if Sovereign King Thunder was really strong, he wasn't bothered at all. HMPH. Courting death. Sovereign King Thunder's brows furrowed. That pitch-black finger of his raised slightly, and all of a sudden, the void turned into chaos. A gigantic thunder dragon was manifested out with its head, claws, body, and scales. Everything down to its very howl was similar to a real dragon. He's looking for death. Every single move of Sovereign King Thunder possesses an immense amount of power. Just that thunderous dragon alone possesses an aura that is so devastating. Even a divine celestial level 7 state being wouldn't be able to hold out against that. Lu Qiangwei could clearly sense the power of that thunder dragon that was emanating out. As such, her face could not help but turn grim. From her point of view, the Sovereign King Thunder was so strong that even a single move of his would be able to cause a divine celestial level 7 state being to disintegrate immediately. Against this move, She even had to retreat somewhat from her current position to ensure that she wasn't caught in the radius of impact. Sovereign King Thunder, how dare you play with thunder before yours truly? This is you looking to be humiliated. Lin Fan laughed out coldly. His very own Thunder Trainer King had already set up his very own cult and even his starkly known Academy of Electroconvulsive Therapy. For Lin Fan, this Thunder Dragon looked as though it couldn't withstand a single blow. You brazen brat with dem big words. Sovereign King Thunder burst out in anger. Boom! Instantly, the Thunder Dragon had itself coiled around Lin Fan, crackling with electricity all over it. No one could see what was going on within at all. It's over. Due to the overconfidence of that man, he's done for. How horrifying was Sovereign King Thunder? To go against strength of that level is to court death indubitably. Lu Qiangwei shook her head and sighed out once more. With someone with such an ego, this was an outcome that would happen sooner or later. Looking at the scene before her, Chu Yu collapsed onto the ground in a crippled position as well. Everyone from the 100 battle party shook their heads in disappointment. Everything was all for naught. Against the Sovereign King Thunder, all of them were akin to ants. HMPH. Sovereign King Thunder, is this all you've got? All of a sudden, a lone voice rang out across the void. Shing. A figure that was wrapped in lightning appeared before everyone's faces. Lin Fan opened up his palms, and the Thunder Dragon that was coiling itself around him was instantly caught in his hands. PSCHHHHHHH. Moving his wrist, that Thunder Dragon in his palms took on the shape of a long whip made up of thunder as it lashed out towards the Sovereign King Thunder. Yours truly has already said it. Once yours truly strikes, you won't have a chance to retaliate. Come over to yours truly now. Chapter 709, Instacle. Chapter 709, Instacle. How could this be? All of a sudden, everyone found themselves looking at everything before them dumbstruck. That single strike by Sovereign King Thunder just now. Even if it were a powerful being of divine celestial level 7 state, there's no way they'd be able to resist it. Just how in the world did this guy do it? Lu Qiangwei was feeling as though a pair of invisible hands were slapping her on the face furiously. From the start, she didn't have many expectations from this Lin Fan guy. However, reality had taught her the harsh truth of how to behave like a proper human being. Not simple. This guy is not simple. Could it truly be possible that this person found by Chu Yu would be able to suppress the Sovereign King Thunder? Lai Beizan commented with astonishment. Party leader, that's impossible. Both of us are clear of just how strong the Sovereign King Thunder. Just as a member of the 100 battle party was refuting those words, the next scene had him feeling as though an invisible arm was gripping on his throat and choking him, rendering him unable to complete his sentence. Just who in the world is he? Nobody knew where this member of the 100 battle party could have gotten the strength to bolt up standing instantly. N-O-V-E in .C ohm. The long whip of thunder in Lin Fan's hands seemed to be filled with a mind of its own as it moved like both a dragon and a snake, coiling itself tightly around the throat of the Sovereign King Thunder. The Sovereign King Thunder was then dragged right before Lin Fan's face. BB starred, you're courting death. The Sovereign King Thunder was filled with a boundless rage in his heart right now. Within his palms, lightning crackled as a thunder god pounced up towards Lin Fan. If yours truly have said that you wouldn't get a chance to fight back, you wouldn't. Slay. Activating his consciousness, a sharp sword will broke out from the void and tore the arm of Sovereign King Thunder apart. Arg! Sovereign King Thunder screamed out and his face turned extremely terrible. To think that the strength of this guy would be this high. Kneel down for yours truly. Lin Fan stretched open his palm as a formidable force pressed down on the head of the Sovereign King Thunder. A boundless amount of might unfurled and swept through the entire world. How dare you humiliate your Sovereign King? Die for your Sovereign King here. Sovereign King Thunder sent a punch flying towards Lin Fan's chest. Bam! This isn't good. He's been struck by the Sovereign King Thunder. At that moment, the color drained from everyone's faces. Initially, they thought that this guy would have a chance of suppressing the Sovereign King Thunder. But just at this moment, they discovered that the retaliatory punch of the Sovereign King Thunder had landed on this guy squarely. He's way too overconfident. How can he be this confident? The destructive powers of the Sovereign King Thunder are so strong. That single punch possessed such devastating powers that even those of the giant or Vajra race wouldn't be able to hang on. The moment Lu Qiangwei saw this scene, her face changed immediately. That initial hope she had in the beginning had vanished entirely. Just at this moment, yet another situation occurred. Sovereign King Thunder, stop resisting now. This fist of yours is just akin to a scratch to yours truly. Kneel down before yours truly. Lin Fan chuckled out coldly. His physical body state was that of a divine celestial level 8 state right now. Thud, a massive amount of power was channeled down from the head of the Sovereign King Thunder once more. Unable to resist it, he collapsed with a thud onto the ground, causing a great amount of that energy to be transferred over. Bam, bam, the ground started cracking as earth spikes shot up, as though the entire earth was going to cave in right now. At this moment, the only feeling that Lu Qiangwei could feel was her cheeks burning red from embarrassment. The moment she said what she said earlier on, she was given one tight slap across the face immediately, without any chance to react at all. Everyone from the Rose Party looked at their party leader and did not know what to say for a moment or two. They had realized that this seemed to be an unlucky day for their party leader today. No matter what she did, she would just come across bad luck. As for the 100 Battle Party, they were so stunned that they were rendered speechless. So strong. This is way too strong. Since when has there been such a powerful existence within the guarded ground? How in the world did Chu Yu seek out help from such a powerful being? I've got no idea, but what I want to know is why such a powerful being is totally unknown till now. Yours truly has said it. You're definitely not going to have a chance to fight back at all. Now, do you believe me? Lin Fan smiled calmly as though this was something really normal that was happening. Damn thing, your Sovereign King will have you dead. Sovereign King Thunder had not expected this to happen to him at all, as he screamed out with a shrill voice. Boom! Within the void, a black vortex suddenly appeared. This vortex was nurturing a tremendous amount of power. Everyone raised their heads and revealed a look of fear. Within the vortex, they could sense a monstrous amount of power emanating from it. ****, die for your Sovereign King here. Sovereign King Thunder blared out as the black vortex in the void began to move along with lightning. From there, a thick and ferocious thunderbolt descended from the heavens and smote down on Lin Fan. That's the Thunder Tornado. To think that the Sovereign King Thunder would have such a godly skill under his control. The moment Lai Beizan saw the thunderbolt, his face changed immediately. The Thunder Tornado was equivalent to a paradise calamity. If the paradise wanted to create a Tao of its own, it would have to undergo a calamity. Right now, the thunderbolt created by the Sovereign King Thunder was that of a paradise calamity. Lin Fan looked at the thunderbolt that rained down from the sky reminiscently. However, none of this mattered to Lin Fan by now. Damned living being, it's time for you to die. Sovereign King Thunder laughed out coldly. It was a sinister and eerie laughter. However, his face changed all of a sudden. Lin Fan grabbed the back of the Sovereign King Thunder's head and lifted him up straight facing the oncoming thunderbolt. Ah! The Sovereign King Thunder screamed out in pain as black fumes rose from his body. Now, don't you think that you're one hell of a dumb ****CK? Evidently, you know that you're trapped in the hands of yours truly, and yet you choose to play with thunder. In the end, who's the one who had to take it himself? Lin Fan sighed out, not knowing what else to say. Despicable, shameless. The Sovereign King Thunder had not expected this guy to be devious enough to use him as a scapegoat. Everyone from the 100 Battle Party and the Rose Party were completely flabbergasted. They had not expected things to turn out as such. That mission about the Sovereign King Thunder, which is heaven-tiered middle graded. What's the deal about it? Lin Fan asked the members of the 100 Battle Party. Capture the Sovereign King Thunder back alive. Oh, I can bring him back alive. That's right. At this moment, Lin Fan turned to look at the Sovereign King Thunder before smiling coldly. Sovereign King Thunder was rupturing out with every last bit of strength that he had. At the same time, the powers within his body were rumbling furiously. However, he was pressed down by that palm on his forehead, and there was nothing he could do at all about it. All of a sudden, the face of Sovereign King Thunder changed. How dare you? As though the powers, paradise, essence spirit, and universal elixir of his body were no longer under his control, Sovereign King Thunder found them all gravitating towards the body of this living being. His face was really terrible right now. Sovereign King Thunder, I guess it's just tough luck for you to run into yours truly. However, for the sake of the mission, I'm not going to take that life of yours. Lin Fan's mythical parasol tree within him began to go hard at work. In the blink of an eye, the powers, paradise and essence spirit etc. within the body of the Sovereign King Thunder were all extracted out. Ding! Experience points plus 800,000 feet. ****, I'm going to kill you. All of a sudden, the Sovereign King Thunder found his body lacking even a single shred of power, as though he was a handicapped being. Hee. Lin Fan did not say anything more. Instead, as though he was dragging a dead dog, Lin Fan pulled Sovereign King Thunder in his hands and walked towards the 100 Battle Party. Bald monk, I'll leave the rest of the ancient race beings for you. Lin Fan said. Yes, thank you, benefactor. The moment Reverend Shakia heard this, he was filled with joy. Leaping with joy instantly, his body was covered with a golden gleam as he began reforming that ancient race army with a benevolent expression. Everyone from the 100 battle party was watching with jaws agape right now. To think that the unparalleled and mighty sovereign King Thunder would be suppressed by this human before them just like that. If they hadn't just witnessed it with their very eyes, they wouldn't have believed it at all. At this moment, the ones who were the saddest right now were none other than the Rose Party. Lu Qiangwei looked at everything before her. As though she hadn't managed to breathe properly, she fainted over. Party leader. The members of the Rose Party began to hold up their party leader together. They knew why their party leader would have such a reaction. To think that she would have let such a powerful being slip away from her just like that. And not only that, he had only costed a mere 10,000 contribution points. Chapter 710. Women on the left and right, beauties all around. Chapter 710. Women on the left and right, beauties all around. Beast. The sovereign King Thunder screamed out at the top of his lungs. The powers within his body were empty right now, and his paradise was stolen right before his eyes. Right now, he was nothing more than a slightly stronger ancient race soldier. He was practically trash at this point. Yes, Lin Fan swung his arm, and a rope formed a noose around the neck of the sovereign King Thunder. He was like a stray dog being led right now. Everyone was completely flabbergasted. They could not dare to believe that the almighty and unparalleled sovereign King Thunder would fall just like that, without being able to fight back at all. Just who in the world was this man? Time to collect my payment. Leading the sovereign King Thunder, Lin Fan walked towards Chu Yu. Many gratitude for your rescue, benefactor. On behalf of our entire 100 battle party, I thank you, benefactor. Lai Beizan had never ever thought that his entire party could make it out of the hands of sovereign King Thunder alive. To them, the sovereign King Thunder was akin to a mountain that they could not climb over at all. It wasn't something they could go against. You don't have to call me your benefactor. This is just a transaction. Lin Fan waved off his hand. Different issues shouldn't be linked together. Damn it, it wasn't easy earning these 10,000 contribution points. Chu Yu explained the matter as it was to her party leader. After hearing it, Lai Beizan's face was filled with utter shock. To think that such a powerful being would be rented at a mere cost of 10,000 contribution points. How unbelievable was this? Benefactor, 10,000 contribution points is too little. I'm willing to pay you half of our entire party's contribution points as compensation. Lai Beizan offered out of goodwill. What are you doing? If I said 10,000, I meant 10,000. Are you trying to humiliate my professionalism? Lin Fan felt as though the other party was looking down on him. After all his time treading across the pugilistic world, Lin Fan had always been someone of his words. He never ever asked for an extravagant price. How much he asked for was how much he would take. And no, I've definitely had no intention of humiliating your professionalism. Lai Beizan waved it off hurriedly. At the same time, Lai Beizan was a little stumped. All he thought was that 10,000 contribution points were too little and wanted to give more, that was all. How did it come down to humiliating and whatnot? All right, good that you did not have that intent. Now, hand over the 10,000 contribution points. Lin Fan felt that time was running out right now. He had to get these 10,000 contribution points and hurry up to form a party, so that he could start accepting missions and head for the peak of his life from there on. Seeing a powerful being as such, Lai Beizan naturally wanted to spend more time establishing a better relationship with him. If he knew someone as powerful as him, he could request help from the other party for some dangerous missions in the future. Upon receiving the 10,000 contribution points, Lin Fan was overwhelmed with joy in his heart. This had been a tumultuous journey to obtain these 10,000 contribution points. Bald monk, are you done yet? Lin Fan looked over at the distance and shouted out to the bald monk. Lin Fan couldn't be bothered with these ancient race soldiers at all. No matter what, after he had eaten the biggest part of the pie, he had to give this bald monk some scraps. Otherwise, he'd be crying about it again. Benefactor, done, done. Reverend Shakia replied excitedly. He had converted quite a number of ancient race beings this time around. From here on forth, the faith within his paradise was only going to get stronger. Indeed, following Benefactor Lin would bring many benefits to him. Party leader, should we head up and seek help from the other party? At this moment, the members of the Rose Party asked with unnatural looks on their faces. Initially, this powerful being would have helped them with their mission. However, due to their unduly concerns over his background, they had rejected him. But, after witnessing everything, Lu Qiangwei was regretful right now. If she hadn't rejected him, their mission would have long been completed for sure. It's useless now. Lu Qiangwei shook her head and revealed a disappointed look. If only she had trusted them from the start, things would be different right now. Party leader, how would we know if we don't give it a shot? I'll go beg them. The Lolita-looking chick grit her teeth and said. At the very beginning in the guarded ground, she was the one warning her party leader to be careful. However, she had now witnessed his might before her very eyes. She naturally understood that she had missed out on a god. If they were to fail this current mission, it would be an inconceivable blow for the Rose Party. Even though the guarded ground was a place where all living beings coexisted in safety, the competition was intense. Tong Han. Lu Qiangwei wanted to say something, but she swallowed back her words. Eventually, she sighed helplessly. Just as Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia were preparing to leave with the 100 battle party, a chick with a childlike face appeared before Lin Fan. Oh, it's you guys. The moment Lin Fan saw who it was that had appeared, he grinned. His brows then furrowed as he was gleeful about this secretly. These chicks must be regretting their decisions right now. Ever since they witnessed this big D*ck of an act by yours truly, they must be remorseful that they had missed out on a powerful being such as yours truly. Tong Han was a little awkward right now. She then raised her head and looked at Lin Fan. Can we from the Rose Party still rent you? Oh, you wish to rent me? Lin Fan chuckled out while his eyes were darting about. He had to check this girl out properly, wondering how these chicks from the thousands of races would grow as such. This Tong Han here was someone from the fox race. That furry tail of hers was swaying behind her back while the skimpy clothes she was wearing were about to burst due to that voluptuous figure of hers. Yes, Tong Han nodded her head with a look of anticipation. At this moment, Lu Qiangwei and the others appeared out from the deep void as well. Lu Qiangwei was looked really embarrassed as she did not dare to look Lin Fan straight in the face. Benefactor, it's a virtue to assist others. Based on the opinion of this poor monk, Reverend Shakia's heart was thumping furiously right now. However, he maintained a straight face. Shut up, bald monk. Initially, yours truly had only intended to earn 10,000 contribution points. However, now that the 10,000 contribution points are in my hands already, I do not require any more contribution points. But, considering the fact that you guys are gentle and meek chicks, yours truly doesn't feel too good about rejecting you guys. But, yours truly does feel a little tired from that fight with the Sovereign King Thunder earlier on. Right now, I'm aching all over my body and am looking for a good rest. Lin Fan's mind moved and a luxurious sedan chair was formed in thin air. He then leapt on it and laid down with his arms opened widely. His intentions were clear, yours truly is tired and requires a massage. However, these members of the Rose Party did not manage to catch his intentions for a moment or two. They stood there wondering what the other party wanted. Looking at the chicks from the Rose Party, Lin Fan's brows creased momentarily. Weren't these chicks too ignorant of the world outside? The moment Reverend Shakia caught sight of this scene, he coughed out gently. Benefactor Lin has overexerted himself earlier on and now his arms and legs are aching. I think he requires a little bit of a massage. Don't you think so, Benefactor Lin? Sure. Lin Fan nodded his head in approval of Reverend Shakia. Now that Reverend Shakia had made everything so clear, if the members of the Rose Party still did not know what this meant, they would have truly lived for nothing at all. Tong Han struggled for a little within her heart. However, she came forth and placed one of Lin Fan's leg onto both of hers as she knelt down. Those tender hands of hers began to start at massaging. Not bad, not bad. Your techniques are decent. To think that the techniques of this chick would be this good. Lin Fan could not help but enjoy it thoroughly. Despite the unwillingness in their hearts, the Rose Party members still had to help out and continue for the sake of their party. Eventually, another three-party member came forth just like Tong Han and massaged his arms and the other leg. The feeling right now was something that Lin Fan had been waiting for a long time now. Ever since he had entered the ancient saint world, he had not been through such an enjoyable treatment. Now that he was experiencing it once more, it was still ever so pleasurable. Not bad, not bad. Yours truly's arms are gradually recovering slowly. I don't think there's going to be much of an issue for me helping out with you guys. You there, what's your name? Right, Lu Qiangwei. Yours truly's head is feeling a little dull. Come here and give me a head massage. That liaison there, yours truly is feeling all uncomfortable for the sake of saving you guys. Get 4 men over to come lift this sedan chair and carry me. Lin Fan ordered. The moment he heard this, Lai Beizan did not hesitate at all. In fact, he himself went up first. All right, let us go. Lin Fan was extremely pleased with this situation right now. He then waved his arm forward and indicated for them to move in the direction of Rose Party's mission. Highs, such is the life of being a landlord. Lin Fan laid there and acknowledged in bliss. Benefactor, this poor monk is feeling a little sore as well. Looking at how much Lin Fan was enjoying himself, Reverend Shakia could not help but remark in envy. Sore your ass, you don't have to do anything at all. All you need to do is to protect me from the sides. Lin Fna replied. All right, Reverend Shakia replied listlessly. If anyone from the guarded ground were to see this, they would definitely puke out blood. They were all busy cultivating in order to increase their cultivation states. Who knew how much pain and ordeals they had to endure? And yet, this man here was having a ball of a time. Women on his left and right while being guarded by even more beauties. What an envy-worthy life this was. Chapter 711, Cheap People Are Hypocritical. Chapter 711, Cheap People Are Hypocritical. While Lin Fan was having the time of his life, Reverend Shakia's eyes were being pierced continuously. Each time Reverend Shakia witnessed the huge weapons of that childlike-faced chick making contact and bouncing on Lin Fan's skin one after another, his eyes felt as though they were sore. Why does this poor monk not have a share in this sort of a wondrous affair? Reverend Shakia lamented in his heart, feeling exceptionally sad. Lin Fan, on the other hand, was feeling mushy all over his body. This wondrous feeling was making its rounds around his heart. However, Lin Fan was a man of morals. How could he be bewitched by something as such? Boom! All of a sudden, an explosion rang out. Lin Fan raised his head gently. A black mountain stood far in the distance. On that mountain, countless weapons were pierced on the ground while innumerable corpses laid around. There's a bunch of really nasty ancient race beings who live at the foot of this black mountain. There are also some living beings who had veered off into the dark path. Our Rose Party are tasked with destroying this mountain. Lu Qiangwei stopped her hand movements and explained. Oh, so that's the case. Lin Fan commented indifferently as he stood up. Black clouds rumbled while the entire place was desolated and looked sinisterly creepy. It was akin to hell on earth. There are living beings attacking. The moment Lin Fan and the others made their appearance, they were spotted by the ancient race beings immediately. Everyone from the Rose Party, listen up. 3 men to a group. None of you are to separate from one another. Lu Qiangwei's face was solemn now. There was still some difficulty to this mission. Otherwise, it wouldn't be an earth-tiered upper-graded mission for nothing. Yes, everyone from the Rose Party felt their spirits rising. Each one of them was a talented woman of their own rights. Against the opponents they were about to face later, they did not have a single shred of fear in their hearts. Save the trouble, Lin Fan waved his hand before floating up gently. As he spread open his palms, a massive amount of power burst forth. A gigantic palm descended from the sky and with power that could move the mountains and seas. It grabbed at this black mountain. Lift up. Lin Fan's powers were like the torrential rivers that were surging furiously. With a single move of his, the power that was emanated out was limitless. Boom! The ground shook as the weapons on the black mountain began to fall down repeatedly. Just like that, the entire black mountain was lifted up. So strong, who knows what the weight of that black mountain is? Even a divine celestial level 8 state powerful being wouldn't be able to do that. The moment everyone caught sight of the scene before them, they exclaimed out in shock and disbelief. Who is it that dares to act so brazenly here? All of a sudden, a maddened growl boomed through the area. A black light shone forth and appeared before Lin Fan's face instantly. Clang! Lin Fan lifted 2 fingers and caught a longsword that was being slashed down in between. The Black Demon Sword Lord. The moment everyone from the Rose Party saw this, their expressions changed. They now knew what Fang Zan had meant earlier on. To think that the Black Demon Sword Lord would be hiding in this black mountain. At the thought of this, Lu Qiangwei's heart thumped furiously. If the Rose Party had dared to come here all by themselves, the consequences would have been unimaginable. The name of the Black Demon Sword Lord had been known for a long time now. His sword skills were abnormally strong, and possessed the powers of the ghosts and gods. At the same time, while his cultivation state was only that of a divine celestial level 7 state being, if one were to factor in that unparalleled sword skills of his, even 3 powerful beings of divine celestial level 7 state wouldn't be able to take him down at all. Your sword is a little too weak. Lin Fan's body did not budge as he pinched with his fingers slightly. Instantly, the black sword cracked apart as the weapon spirit within it howled out before disappearing into nothingness. You're someone from the guarded ground. The face of the Black Demon Sword Lord was astonished. To think that his lower-graded Dao weapon would be destroyed just like that. Lu Qiangwei, your mission is to destroy this place? Lin Fan asked. Why yes. Rattled by everything before her, Lu Qiangwei replied. Good, then consider the mission done. Lin Fan's powers were heaven-revolting. The Black Mountain and the Black Demon Sword Lord before his very eyes were akin to ants that could be squashed with the flip of his hands. Damn it, since you guys dared to come here, you shall leave your lives behind. Infinite Demon's sword will slay down the heavens and earth. All of a sudden, the Black Demon Sword Lord's body shone as a boundless dark sword will rushed up into the heavens. The earth quaked as this boundless sword will fill the entire world. A monster wielding a black long sword appeared all of a sudden between the world, and with a single slash, sliced the world into two. Not good. That's the Infinite Demon's sword will of the Black Demon Sword Lord. The moment everyone caught sight of this immense sword will, their expressions could not help but tense up. On the other hand, as he witnessed this boundless sword will, Lin Fan only grinned coldly. Within the blink of an eye, he swept across with his robes and with a single palm, it seemed as though the entire void was being pressured down by some immense force from above. Bam, bam, the Black Mountain began to explode, along with every other living being on it. How could this be? The moment the Black Demon Sword Lord witnessed his very own Infinite Demon's sword will crumbling under the might of this opposing force, he yelled out in shock. Bam, blood and flesh sprayed out into the world. Under the crushing might of this force, the Black Demon Sword Lord was minced up into pieces of bloodied meat that floated in the void. Every single meat was akin to a longsword of its own that struggled continuously. Too weak. Lin Fan shook his head and caused the pieces of meat to rupture out, forcefully stealing everything from them. Ding! Congratulations on killing Divine Celestial Level 7 Black Demon Sword Lord. Ding! Experience points plus. Ding! Congratulations on killing Ancient Race Legatus. Ding! Congratulations on killing Ancient Race. With the destruction of the Black Mountain, every single last living being and ancient race beings that resided on it died without even knowing how. The relentless experience points were being reaped by Lin Fan. Even though they weren't some sort of powerful beings, the wave of experience points was still pretty decent. After obtaining a certain amount of energy, the surface of Lin Fan's paradise was expanding out rapidly. The crystallized walls shone with a sparkling light as though every single crystal particle possessed a consciousness of its own. Benefactor, why couldn't you leave a single one for this poor monk? Reverend Shakia asked helplessly. At times, there were scraps for him to collect while at others, he couldn't even get a single bit of crap. These guys are way too weak. So, we won't waste any time. Lin Fan tossed his robes and headed back to where he was. Let's go back. He waved his hands saying. Everyone from the Rose Party looked at Lin Fan with a stunned look. They had not expected the mission to be over just like that. Under a single palm, an earth-tiered upper-graded mission was completed just like that. Wasn't this just way too fast? Everyone from the 100 Battle Party was equally stumped. Even though they had witnessed the scene of Lin Fan suppressing the Sovereign King Thunder with just a single move, the sight of him crumbling down the Black Mountain was equally spectacular nevertheless. Right now, the Sovereign King Thunder was being chained like a dog and tied to the side of the sedan chair. His face was infuriated. However, there was nothing he could do at all. They went as quickly as they came. Within a single breath, an earth-tiered upper-graded mission was completed just like that. For everyone from the Rose Party, this was akin to a dream they could not have imagined. Yes, comfortable. Lu Qiangwei, use slightly more strength. Chick Tong Han, stop using your huge weapons to rub them across my leg. What's your name called? Use more strength. Yours truly's limbs aren't that delicate. Highs. Seems like if there's a chance, yours truly have got to teach you guys the 108 moves of the Dongguan style massage. Reverend Shakia looked at Lin Fan and remarked in a sour tone, cheap people are hypocritical. Bald monk, what did you say? Nothing, I said nothing at all. Chapter 712. This act must be done or I'll feel like shit. Chapter 712. This act must be done or I'll feel like shit. Guarded ground. Fang Zan led everyone and appeared in the public square. His face was filled with an endless grin. The Zan Kui party has managed to complete a heaven-tiered lower-graded mission. So strong. To think that the Zan Kui party would be this strong. Seems like they might be at par with the Sealing Heavens party soon. That's impossible. The reason why the Zan Kui party was able to complete this heaven-tiered lower-graded mission was that they had rented a couple of powerful beings for it. Most of the contribution points obtained by them might have to be split out amongst these powerful beings. However, the fame of completing a heaven-tiered lower-graded mission should be enough to make up for it. I suppose the reason why the Zon Kui party has rushed through this heaven-tiered lower-graded mission this time around is to try to attract more party members. Seems like we've got a chance to go try our luck at it then. Within the guarded ground, if one does not have any party status, it would be extremely hard to progress forward. Only when you join a stronger party do you stand a greater chance of improving. Fang Zan was all smiles right now. After having completed a heaven-tiered lower-graded mission, the reputation of the party has increased by quite a bit. Seemed like they might be able to attract some powerful beings to them this time around. Has the Rose party returned? Fang Zan swept his gaze around. However, he did not manage to catch sight of the Rose party. No, ever since the Rose party left, they haven't returned yet. Even the sole survivor of the 100 battle party who left with those two men hasn't returned either. They're just courting death. To think that they would dare to go against the descent of the sovereign King Thunder. I'm afraid they might just be food for the ancient race by now. That's right. However, it's quite the pity for the Rose party as well. To think that they would dare to go attempt their mission without renting a powerful being as well. I'm afraid the odds should be stacked against them. Towards the outcome of the Rose party, Fang Zan was pretty certain by now. Initially, the Earth-tiered upper-graded mission that the Rose party had accepted wasn't that difficult. However, the Black Demon Sword Lord has been staying at the Black Mountain recently. One could say that the true difficulty of this mission should be around that of a heaven-tiered lower-graded one. By now, the entire Rose party should have perished at the Black Mountain. Fang Zan said. What? The Black Demon Sword Lord? Isn't he the evil living being who had once annihilated the entire Rising Dragon party with just a single slice? If the Black Demon Sword Lord is truly at the Black Mountain, the Rose party would definitely be in a disastrous position right now. Looking at the masses, Fang Zan shook his head. If only the Rose party had decided to join the Zon Kui party, something as such wouldn't have happened then. But then again, forget it. Today, the Zon Kui party has finished a heaven-tiered lower-graded mission. Are there any powerful beings who would like to be a part of the Zon Kui party? Anyone who is at Divine Celestial level 5 and above is welcome to join us as well. The benefits would be tremendous. Some of the vagrant martial artists in the crowd began to harbor thoughts about it upon hearing these words. It was important to join a powerful party within the garroted ground after all. Not only would one be safer going with them on a mission, one would be able to obtain more contribution points in exchange for better stuff as well. Within the guarded ground, a party was synonymous with survival. If a party wanted to get stronger, they would have to have some stronger party members. If any member wanted to get stronger, they would have to seek out a reliable party. I'm willing to join. Me too. I'm at Divine Celestial level 5 cultivation state. I'm willing to join the Zon Kui party. The moment Fang Zan caught sight of everything before him, he was instantly exhilarated. The only way for the party to continue growing stronger was for new members to keep flooding in. Within the guarded ground, the Sealing Heavens party was one of the top 10 parties. Each and every single one of the members there were powerful beings who could hold their own and were not to be underestimated. Good. Fang Zan was in a joyous mood right now, and had his party members take charge of the recruitment. Boom! All of a sudden, an explosion rang out. They're back. The Rose party and the 100 battle party are back. The moment everyone heard this voice, their faces were filled with disbelief. Fang Zan's heart was suspicious over this news. How could this possibly be? However, when he caught sight of the figures in the distance, his face changed. Rose party, have you guys completed your mission? Some of the bystanders asked curiously. 100 battle party, didn't you guys meet with the sovereign King Thunder? How did you guys make it back alive? At this moment, a commotion was going on around them. Make way, make way. Fang Zan peeled himself away from the crowd and came before the Rose party. He asked in an astonished tone, how did you guys possibly make it back from the Black Mountain? Fang Zan was clear of the Rose party's capabilities. If they were to meet the Black Demon Sword Lord, the only road awaiting them was death. It was impossible that they could possibly make it back. Fang Zan, you hadn't expected this, had you? Seems like you knew that the Black Demon Sword Lord was at the Black Mountain all along, and were secretly hoping for our Rose party to be annihilated there. Lu Qiangwei remarked as she looked at Fang Zan. You guys have truly returned from the Black Mountain. The moment Fang Zan heard the words of Lu Qiangwei, his face changed. With yours truly watching over them, what can this Black Mountain place amount to? Lin Fan spoke up indifferently. You. The moment Fang Zan cast his sights at this person before him, he was filled with disbelief. He then looked over at the 100 battle party. You guys. HMPH. What about them? With yours truly around, what can a mere sovereign King Thunder amount to? Lin Fan tossed his robes with an arrogant look. This single sentence from Lin Fan had everyone rooted. What could the Black Mountain amount to? What could the sovereign King Thunder amount to? Such tyrannical words. Impossible. The only reason why you guys have returned from the Black Mountains must be all due to sheer luck, Rose Party. But the 100 Battle Party has met with Sovereign King Thunder. How could you have possibly saved them from the grasp of Sovereign King Thunder? Fang Zan refused to believe everything before him. How strong of an existence was Sovereign King Thunder? Even the Sealing Heavens Party would not dare to say that they could kill the Sovereign King Thunder. I knew it. You guys must have been lying. How strong is the Sovereign King Thunder? Just you alone? Impossible. Fang Zan scoffed in disbelief. I'd say, are you sick in the head? So, you think that you're the only one who can do something and all of us can't? Lin Fan was pretty displeased with Fang Zan right now. Was this mother CKER retarded or something? What did you say? Did you say that I'm sick in the head? Fang Zan's face was changed as rage surged into his heart. He then looked around at the masses. Do you guys believe in his words? Everyone exchanged unconvinced glances with one another. After all, the might of Sovereign King Thunder was supreme. He wasn't someone any mere person could kill at all. I reckon that should be impossible. That's right. What sort of an existence is the Sovereign King Thunder? How can he be killed just like that? I don't believe it. No matter what, I don't. Looking at the skepticism in the crowd, Fang Zan smiled out. Benefactor, I can't take this any longer. This act, we've got to put it on. Otherwise, this poor monk is going to feel like sh*t all over. Reverend Shakia remarked. Yes, bald monk, I have the same intentions. Go, take out our pet. All right, Reverend Shakia replied gleefully. You bugger, stop blocking my way. Yours truly is on the way to go create a party now. Lin Fan waved his hands dismissively, not wanting to say anything any further. HMPH. Big words. Just someone like. Fang Zan snorted coldly with a look of contempt. Make way, make way. The pet of this poor monk is about to come out. It's not my responsibility if anyone gets bitten. Reverend Shakia yelled out. He was holding on to a rope in one hand. At the other end of the rope was an ancient race being. The moment everyone saw the ancient race being led by Reverend Shakia, they were frozen. Holy FCK, look at that. What's that? This. How could this be? Sovereign King Thunder. It's truly Sovereign King Thunder. I've seen the mission description as well as his picture before. That's the Sovereign King Thunder for sure. Impossible. Not only has he managed to save the 100 Battle Party from the hands of the Sovereign King Thunder, but he has also even managed to suppress the Sovereign King Thunder. This is a godly news. To think that the first person to complete a heaven-tiered middle-graded mission from the guarded ground would be a living being without a party at all. Even the top 10 parties of the guarded ground hadn't managed to complete this mission. To think that it would be completed by those two. As for Fang Zan, he was completely dumbfounded at this moment in disbelief. Fang Zan, there is always someone stronger out there. Good luck and misfortunes are closely tied. After snatching the powerful being away from the Rose Party, I bet you hadn't considered that it would in turn lead us to meeting an even more powerful being, right? Lu Qiangwei came before Fang Zan's face and said with disdain. Without looking back, she then followed Lin Fan's lead. My 100 Battle Party had met the Sovereign King Thunder. But, it was all thanks to the grace of the great almighty Lin Fan that we were able to escape with our lives. Lai Beizan cupped his fists towards the crowd before hurrying in Lin Fan's direction. This. Fang Zan felt as though he was having difficulties breathing in right now. To think that he was all self-gratified with completing a heaven-tiered lower-graded mission earlier on. But right now, he was just being slapped on his face. Did you guys hear that? That man hasn't formed a party yet. If we hurry over there now and he starts recruiting, we might be taken in if we have good luck. Go, go, hurry up and follow them or it'll be all too late. What about Zan Kui Party? Are we not joining them anymore? What, join your ass. There are tons of parties like Zan Kui Party all around the guarded ground. But, one with a powerful being who can take down the Sovereign King Thunder. There's only one of that now. That makes sense. Let's go. All of a sudden, that initially lively public square was emptied out as everyone headed over to follow Lin Fan. The only ones left standing there were members of the Zan Kui Party, who were all frozen with shock right now. Fang Zan was actually about to spit out a mouthful of blood. In order to complete this heaven-tiered lower-graded mission, he had expended quite a bit of contribution points. Initially, he had thought to use this to recruit more members. But, by the looks of things now, there didn't seem to be anyone left. Chapter 713, Formation of the Revolutionary Army. Chapter 713, Formation of the Revolutionary Army. At this moment, Lin Fan was in the spotlight in everyone's eyes. Lin Fan, you're going to have a terrible death. Terrible death, Sovereign King Thunder howled out. Sovereign King Thunder was completely incensed right now. To think that he would be subjugated by a living being. Not only that, he was even stripped of his powers entirely and relegated to be a trash. Bald monk, give him 2 tight slaps and have him shut up. Lin Fan puffed his chest high with an outstanding aura. Anyone who caught sight of him would even feel some butterflies in their stomachs. Peok, peok, now that there were no more powers to him, Sovereign King Thunder could not even endure these 2 tight slaps as his cheeks began to swell instantly. To think that the Sovereign King Thunder would be subdued by that person. How incredible is that? That's right, this is horrifying. Big news, big news. Sovereign King Thunder has been subdued. That man from the Buddha race is pretty domineering, isn't he? That's the Sovereign King Thunder over there. Just the sight of this is giving me the chills. ... Everyone stared at the scene fixatedly. They were way too startled by everything before them right now. In their eyes, everything seemed so surreal that it didn't seem like reality at all. Very quickly, Lin Fan came to the place he had gone to before. Chick, Big Brother here has returned. There are 10,000 contribution points here. I can create a party now, right? Lin Fan chuckled. Sure, to think that you could earn 10,000 contribution points this quickly, Big Brother. So strong, the cute chick replied. That's for sure, Lin Fan grinned. At this moment, Lin Fan had long been surrounded by a group of people. All of them looked at him with a sparkling gaze. They all wanted to be a part of Lin Fan's party. Party creation approved. Please name your party. The cute chick smiled. Name, Lin Fan pondered for a moment. This name had to be tyrannical. Lin Fan's party, the King's party, human party, ... November LBJNN. One by one, these names passed through Lin Fan's mind. However, none of them seemed all that domineering in the end. Chick, must I really have the word, party, in them? Nopes. Alright then, call it the Revolutionary Army. Lin Fan came to a conclusion as he decided upon this meaningful name. Revolutionary Army. The moment the crowd heard this name, they could not help but wonder what the meaning behind it was. Initially, they had thought that for someone as powerful as such, the name of his party should be something abnormally domineering such as, Slaying Heavens, FCK the Heavens, Break the Heavens, Poke the Heavens, etc. The name Revolutionary Army did not come across their minds at all. Alright, as for the image of your party's emblem, please draw it out with magic. The cute chick said. No problem, Lin Fan did not have to hesitate at all. Something as important as the party emblem was naturally required to be as domineering as possible. And, what was the most domineering thing in this world? Of course, it was none other than Lin Fan himself. Very quickly, Lin Fan constructed an image of himself. Domineering, cool, this is the coolest emblem I've ever seen upon entering the guarded ground. That's right, if only I could have an emblem as such, I would die without regrets. At this moment, everyone began to bootlick fervently. Upon hearing these praises, Lin Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. Seemed like there was quite a number of people who were tactful here. After creating this party, the 10,000 contribution points no longer belonged to him. However, none of this mattered to Lin Fan. This was the place to create parties. As for the heaven-tiered middle-graded mission of the Sovereign King Thunder, the submission of that mission was at another place. Ding! Congratulations on forming your first party. Ding! Name of party, Revolutionary Army. Ding! Activating party buff. Buff. Party leader's halo. Unity halo. At this moment, Lin Fan was surprised. He hadn't expected notifications to ring out from the system upon the creation of the party. Not bad, not bad. To think that something like this would gain the recognition of the system. After he was done with forming the party, Lin Fan left the area under the escort of the masses. Benefactor, are you done with creating the party? Reverend Shakia, who was pulling the Sovereign King Thunder along, asked curiously. Yes, it's done, Lin Fan smiled. Bald monk, are you going to join or not? Lin Fan asked. Benefactor, do you need to say more? Of course, I am. Reverend Shakia replied hurriedly. Ding, congratulations on adding new member to your party. Vice Party Leader, Reverend Shakia. Cultivation State, Divine Celestial Level 7. Loyalty, 100 full marks. Lin Fan was stunned for a moment. To think that the system would add this new function in. How bloody awesome was this? To think that there would even be a column for loyalty. But, this was good as well. This would save him trouble in the future. At this moment, Lin Fan turned his gaze towards the crowd and took in a deep breath before shouting out, "Today, the party, Revolutionary Army, is officially formed." Peok peok peok. All of a sudden, a booming applause rained out across the crowd. Countless people were squeezing all around, trying to get into this Revolutionary Army. All of them gave off a thirsty look as they stared at Lin Fan, who was standing on an elevated point right now. "May I ask when the Revolutionary Army is recruiting? May I ask if there are any requirements for the Revolutionary Army's recruitment?" All of a sudden, a series of questions were yelled out from the crowd. These were their pressing concerns. Lin Fan looked at the dense crowd of people and let out a smile. He then opened up both his arms. "Yours truly's Revolutionary Army will never judge based on one's cultivation states or looks. We don't discriminate between men, women, the old, or the young. As such, the recruitment for the Revolutionary Army is now open. Anyone who wishes to join us can sign up now." "Ah, I want to join. I want to join the Revolutionary Army." "Me too." At this moment, the crowd went wild. They hadn't expected there to be no requirements for joining the Revolutionary Army. For the crowd, this was way too unimaginable. "No hurries." Slowly, Lin Fan waved his hand as a tremendous pressure swept out, causing everyone to calm down. Ding! New member recruited. Ding! New member recruited. ... The crowd gushed as a large group of living beings joined Lin Fan's Revolutionary Army. All of these living beings were partyless, and looked down upon by the other parties. Very soon, Lin Fan realized that he had already recruited 100 members. However, all of the cultivation states of these living beings hovered around Divine Celestial level 4 and 5. At the same time, their loyalties weren't all that high, and was just around 50 on average. "Is there anyone else who wishes to join the party?" Lin Fan looked at the scene right now. No one else spoke up. Seemed like the others who had not joined were just waiting right now. After all, Lin Fan's party was just newly formed up. Even though it was true that Lin Fan had suppressed the sovereign King Thunder, they still felt that there wasn't much of an influence of this Revolutionary Army. As for some of the others from other parties, they were just observing right now. "Alright, since there's no one else who wants to join, then let me say a few words as a party leader. I'll give out the party emblem at one go later on," Lin Fan hollered out. All of the members who had just joined the Revolutionary Army raised their heads and looked at Lin Fan. While their hearts were pretty excited right now, the main thing they were looking forward to was having a firm support. Towards Lin Fan, they did not feel that much of an admiration and love just yet. "Everyone, quiet and down. Yours truly here is Lin Fan from the human race. Ever since I had ascended into the ancient saint world, I battled across lands and slew many ancient race beings. The moment I entered the guarded ground and found the masses of you living here, I heard a small voice talking to me in my heart. It told me that I had to form a party to bring everyone together and forge a future. Now, I want to pose a question to everyone out there. Do you guys know why your party leader here chose to name the party as the Revolutionary Army?" Everyone exchanged glances. They truly did not know. After that, they shook their heads together. Lin Fan looked at the crowd. "This is so that we can all stand up together. Bearing courage in our hearts, we shall uphold justice as a whole, and overthrow that cruel, inhumane ancient race. It's time to create a revolution against the tyrannical ways of the ancient race. Do you guys know just how many beings of the thousands of races are being tormented cruelly right now under the repressive regime of the ancient race? All they can do is wait for the light of hope to dawn on them. Guys, think, what if one day, your wives and daughters are caught by the ancient race beings while treading through the ancient saint world? After that, they would be violated, ravaged, tainted, and toyed with. Can you guys endure that? Tell your party leader here. Can you guys endure that?" Lin Fan bellowed. "No, think about it. You're sitting with your loved ones under the moon, talking about affairs of the heart right now. Just as your emotions are getting to touch base, the ancient race beings leap out of nowhere to snatch away your lovers, your wives. With that, they destroy that perfect life of yours. Can you endure that? No." At this moment, the living beings who had joined the Revolutionary Army were gradually feeling a sense of displeasure over the words that Lin Fan had just said. They then started growling out. "We want a revolution. We want freedom. We want love. We want to protect our wives. We want to defend and uphold our dignities." Lin Fan raised his arm and led the chant. At this moment, the feelings in the depths of their hearts were being roused up by Lin Fan, as the living beings started shouting out as well. Chicks over there, raise your hands and cheer. We want to snatch back our men. Lin Fan pointed his finger at a group of chicks in the distance. The chicks suddenly felt their hearts bubbling with emotions. We want to snatch back our men. That's right, everyone, remember this now. Our revolutionary army was created for love and freedom. We fight for our dignity. Lin Fan cheered. All of a sudden, the loyalty of everyone from the revolutionary army rose. Follow your party leader to a bright and beautiful life. Lin Fan yelled. Follow our party leader. Our party leader will lead us to a bright future. ... We want to join the revolutionary army and walk towards a bright future too. At this moment, some of the surrounding observers without a party were sold in by that emotional speech by Lin Fan as well, as they clamored to join the revolutionary army. Alright, no hurries now. One by one, the mantra of our revolutionary army shall be this: mutual love and care. Do not abandon or give up. Join the revolutionary army. We're a big family here. We shall enjoy blessings and endure misfortunes together. For the sake of freedom. To battle for our dignities. Lin Fan shouted. Long live our party leader. We want to join the revolutionary army. ... With this sharp tongue of his, Lin Fan used his superb skills of blowing hard to brainwash the masses. The result was absolutely fantastic as well. Good, now that our revolutionary army has been formed, we shall conduct an initiation exercise. Everyone, take a look at this fella before you. This is the sovereign King Thunder of the ancient race. However, he has been subdued by your party leader and his cultivation state is now completely trashed. Anyone who wishes to join the revolutionary army, come before him and give him a tight kick between his crotch. It's time to let him know that our chicks are not to be toyed with by someone like him. Lin Fan rallied with a high tone. Everyone present knew that the ancient race beings were really vicious and cruel. This was especially the case if the ones captured by them were women. Basically, they would just be ravished and toyed with. After that, they would be eaten up. This was a deep-lying pain in the hearts of the beings of the thousands of races. Might be to our party leader. Our party leader is the best. Our chicks are not to be toyed with. Everyone yelled out. Looking at the high-strung atmosphere right now, Lin Fan was heartened. He then held out his final sentence. Kick his nuts till they burst. ... Chapter 714, I want privileges as a prisoner of war. Chapter 714, I want privileges as a prisoner of war. The atmosphere was spirited with an aroused momentum. A series of cheers invigorated the entire guarded ground. Some of the living beings who heard the loud roars did not know what was going on. Indeed, it was rare for something as such to happen within the guarded ground. Kick him till his nuts burst. Everyone's faces tensed up as they looked over at the crippled sovereign King Thunder. The gazes were so intense that they culminated into a light beam of focus. The moment sovereign King Thunder sensed this focusing beam, his heart could not help but shiver for a second. To this sovereign King Thunder who had terrorized living beings his entire life, this was a feeling he had never once experienced before. If you want to join my revolutionary army, you've got to have the courage. This man before you guys is the sovereign King Thunder. Even though your strength is nothing compared to his, there shall be no cowardly being in my revolutionary army. Even if you're caught by the ancient race beings in the future due to some unfortunate incident, you can proclaim out in pride that you had once kicked the nuts of their sovereign king. Lin Fan's arms were spread-eagled as he cheered out. Lin Fan was extremely satisfied with everything going on right now. This was the type of excitement and atmosphere that he was craving for. The look in the eyes of the sovereign King Thunder is so frightening. Are we really going to kick the nuts of the sovereign King Thunder? What are you afraid of? So what if he's the great sovereign King Thunder? Right now, we're members of the Revolutionary Army. Our Revolutionary Army emphasizes on the path of seeking freedom, seeking perfection. So what even if it's the sovereign King Thunder? I'm going to be the first to kick. That's right, our Revolutionary Army is the strongest. We carry with us the burden of overthrowing the ancient race. ... I am the sovereign King Thunder of the ancient race. How dare you ants treat me like this? Sovereign King Thunder blasted out. He did not believe that these ants would dare to tug at the whiskers of a tiger. At this moment, everyone around who caught sight of this ferocious display by the sovereign King Thunder could not help but tense up a little. They were a little startled over it. Sovereign King Thunder, now that you're subdued by our great revolutionary army, how dare you continue to act so brazenly? I, Zhao Xiaomao, shall be the first to kick your nuts. Amongst the crowd, a lone man stood out. This man's cultivation state was divine celestial level 4 as he looked at Lin Fan with a pair of burning eyes filled with reverence. He was the first to join the Revolutionary Army. To him, this army was a party of justice that bore with it a heavy burden. N-O-V-L-P-in.C-Om. This was especially the case after that invigorating act put on by Lin Fan earlier on. That act had Zhao Xiaomao feeling as though he himself was part of alleviating that burden. "You're called Zhao Xiaomao." The moment Lin Fan caught sight of someone leading the charge, he was elated as he asked. "Party leader, my name is Zhao Xiaomao, yes." Zhao Xiaomao stood in rapt attention before Lin Fan. "Good, you'll be the first to go then. Show these fellow party members of yours a good example to follow." Lin Fan continued. "Yes." Zhao Xiaomao took in a deep breath and came before the face of the Sovereign King Thunder. His eyes glared straight at the Sovereign King Thunders as he gathered his courage before he bellowed, "Sovereign King Thunder. I, Zhao Xiaomao, am not afraid of you. You dare." Sovereign King Thunder blared out. If he still had his powers, he would have definitely minced this living being before him into shreds. "Why wouldn't I? I'll kick." Zhao Xiaomao did not hesitate at all. Raising his leg, he kicked out at the groin area of the Sovereign King Thunder. He's really gone for the kick. Isn't this Zhao Xiaomao way too ballsy? That's the Sovereign King Thunder. Isn't he afraid that the Sovereign King Thunder would retaliate? Bam! A crushing sound rang through the world. A tragic wail of unparalleled anguish rang out. While Zhao Xiaomao hadn't learned the true origins crushing kick and therefore did not have any of those amazing effects, at this very moment the Sovereign King Thunder was stripped of his powers entirely. While his physical body state's toughness was still present, he was harshly suppressed by Lin Fan. Therefore, the present Sovereign King Thunder was nothing but a weak chicken. Ha ha, Zhao Xiaomao could feel his feet making contact with a mysterious and amazing place. This was especially so when he heard the tragic wail coming from the Sovereign King Thunder. His heart swelled in pride. Gripping his fist, Zhao Xiaomao felt as though the entire world was beneath him at this very moment. "I've just kicked the nuts of Sovereign King Thunder. Zhao Xiaomao is afraid of nothing." Zhao Xiaomao bellowed out in excitement. So daring. Just where did this Zhao Xiaomao hail from? To think that he would dare to be the first to kick Sovereign King Thunder's nuts. At this moment, everyone was filled with respect towards Zhao Xiaomao, as a wave of applause rang out. In fact, there were even some female living beings who found themselves having a slight crush on this man. At this moment, Zhao Xiaomao felt like crying. His life within the guarded ground wasn't all that well off. He had only arrived at this place by sheer coincidence. However, due to his low cultivation state, he hadn't been regarded by anyone out in the world. In fact, he couldn't even manage to find a partner. But at this very moment, he could feel himself being admired by the masses with esteemed gazes. There were even some cute chicks who were watching him with sparkly eyes. Zhao Xiaomao seemed to have just found the way to live right here. He cast his sights and looked at that noble figure who stood at that elevated ground. This was the man who had allowed him to regain this feeling and sensation he once had. The admiration and reverence that Zhao Xiaomao bore towards Lin Fan broke through the heavens, and he was entirely converted into a brain-dead fan at this moment. "I, Zhao Xiaomao, have joined the Revolutionary Army voluntarily, and I swear to uphold the honor and dignity of the army. To love, to protect the Revolutionary Army, I will raise my cultivation state tirelessly so that I can be someone capable of standing on my own. Everyone, don't be afraid. This Sovereign King Thunder is nothing but a paper tiger. We must all whack the paper tiger to regain our freedom." Zhao Xiaomao rallied out and was the first to come before Lin Fan. Party leader, Zhao Xiaomao, member of the Revolutionary Army, reporting in. "Good, not bad." Lin Fan nodded his head in approval. Holding an emblem, he handed it over to Zhao Xiaomao personally. The moment Zhao Xiaomao received the emblem, he felt as though his status in life had just been raised. Looking at Zhao Xiaomao's back as he left, Lin Fan looked over to Reverend Shakia and whispered, "This lad is decent. We can look to groom him with some importance." Reverend Shakia nodded his head in approval as he grinned out. With Zhao Xiaomao leading the charge, the others were no longer fearful. The sight of their party leader handing out the emblems personally had them bursting with pride. "Don't snatch with me, I'm going to be the second. I'm the second, alright, then I'm the third. I must burst the nuts of the Sovereign King Thunder. ... Mad. These guys have all gone mad." Some of the observers who were members of other parties were all rattled at this scene right now. They could not believe in this incredulity at all. Even Lin Fan himself was finding it a little way too incredible. Weren't these guys that had just joined the Revolutionary Army gaining their self-awareness way too quickly? Could this be a boost that was given off by the system? After joining the Revolutionary Army and having their loyalty risen, would they wear the helms of the Revolutionary Army completely? Looking at these frenzied living beings, the Sovereign King Thunder's face turned entirely pale. Pock, pock, leg after another flew towards the groin of the Sovereign King Thunder as though they were free of charge. A series of pain was spreading through the body of the Sovereign King Thunder, causing him so much torment that he was going to break down. You beasts, I must definitely kill all of you. The eyes of the Sovereign King Thunder were bloodshot as he screamed out. Sovereign King Thunder, how dare you spout such big words against the absolute justice of the Revolutionary Army? Everyone, kick him to death. The members of the Revolutionary Army shouted out as yet another round of ball kicking ensued. Watching everything before them, Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia could not help but blink their eyes. Benefactor, this is way too cruel, isn't it? Even just watching this had Reverend Shakia feeling some pain in his nuggets. Bloody hell, the nuggets of the Sovereign King Thunder were even looking as though they were going to burst into a blood mist right now. The anger of the common folks is one that's hard to quench. It's the Sovereign King Thunder's fault for being so audacious. Lin Fan shook his head in helplessness. I want mercy as a prisoner. Let me be a privileged prisoner of war, please. At this moment, the Sovereign King Thunder finally relented and started begging. He couldn't bear with it any longer. However, his pleas for mercy were drowned by the Revolutionary Army instantly. Chapter 715, The First Eunuch Sovereign King of the Ancient Race. Chapter 715, The First Eunuch Sovereign King of the Ancient Race. Second level of guarded ground. Base of Sealing Heaven's Party. Revolutionary Army. Feng Wudi's reputation within the guarded ground was pretty stellar, along with his strength that was formidable. However, there was always someone stronger than oneself in the world. Even though the Sealing Heaven's Party was strong, there were a number of parties who weren't weaker than them as well. But, the sudden rise of the Revolutionary Army did attract the attention of Feng Wudi. For both of them to rescue both the Rose Party and 100 Battle Party, they do have some capabilities to them. Feng Wudi chuckled out. As for the surrounding Sealing Heaven's Party members, they followed the chuckles. However, they weren't bothered with this new party at all. All of a sudden, a single member of theirs came rushing in hurriedly. Party leader, the leader of the Revolutionary Army, Lin Fan, has brought back the Sovereign King Thunder. This member's face was astonished as he proclaimed in disbelief. How can that be? A bulked man who was carrying a huge axe on his back stood nearby and chuckled out, unconvinced. It's really true. Right now, the Sovereign King Thunder is tied up there and being ridiculed by the people of the Revolutionary Army. The member continued. This member who had returned to report the news of the Revolutionary Army at the start was in disbelief as well. Initially when he was there, he had not seen the Sovereign King Thunder for himself. However, now that he was hearing these claims, he could not help but let out a look of incredulity. Zhang Wudi's brows furrowed. He then stood up and looked into the distance while mumbling under his breath, Revolutionary Army. Right now, the Sealing Heaven's Party was not the only one in shock. The other parties were equal parts astonished. To them, this was one hell of a big news. This mission involving the Sovereign King Thunder was truly something that no one had tried taking on just yet. Just where in the world did this Revolutionary Army hail from? Feng Qingzi, this disciple that you had just taken in, he's not really one who knows his limit, On the 9th level of the guarded ground right now, an elderly figure standing at the side chuckled to Feng Qingzi. Ho ho, if he were someone that obedient, then I wouldn't have taken a liking to him either. Feng Qingzi laughed out calmly. However, he was feeling a little proud inside his heart. No matter what, it was always a good thing if his own disciple was that capable. However, this is no simple issue. If Saint were to come chase after this, things might start to get a little sticky. The elderly figure continued. How can it be sticky? We weren't the ones who struck out anyways. It's the Sovereign King Thunder's own fate if he couldn't deal with my disciple. Even if Saint were to come, what can he do? At the most, we'd just fight it out. Feng Qingzi pursed his lips and said. Ha ha, the elderly figure laughed out and did not say anything more. They wouldn't interfere in things like these at all. All they needed to do was to keep the guarded ground safe and secure. Even though he was someone of Divine Celestial Level 10, Eternal God state, he wasn't someone who had managed to attain an Eternal God seat. Despite that, his strength was still not something to be underestimated. If Feng Qingzi weren't around, he would be the one tasked with upholding the guarded ground. I am a prisoner of war. I want some privileges. The voice of the Sovereign King Thunder was really weak now, as though he was mere inches away from death. The lower half of his body was completely numb right now, without a single bit of feeling within. In fact, he couldn't even will it to move any longer. He did not know how many kicks he had endured so far. However, that throbbing pain was still tormenting the Sovereign King Thunder non-stop. Looking at the tragic state of the Sovereign King Thunder, Lin Fan could not help but laugh out. If he were to go add in a kick of his own, the Sovereign King Thunder would almost definitely explode instantly from that. To think that the Sovereign King Thunder just amounts to that. That feeling of the kick was way too amazing. That's right, this is the Sovereign King Thunder. However, to think that this man would be wailing out in pain over my kicks. That is fabulous. All of these members who had joined the Revolutionary Army had completed the initiation ceremony one after another. Holding the emblem in their hands, each of them were huffing from the heat of excitement. The Revolutionary Army was now the true home in their hearts. Stomp, stomp, I've yet to kick. Suddenly, the ground quaked. When everyone turned their gazes over, they could not help but feel alarmed. A living being of the giant race stood up. He was 10 feet tall and ripped with muscles all over his body. Those legs of his were as thick as heavenly pillars. How are you so slow? We're all done kicking here. The members of the Revolutionary Army laughed out. Looking at this being from the giant race before him, Lin Fan could not help but gulp down his saliva. If this man were to give it one good kick, wouldn't it be fatal? He wondered if the Sovereign King Thunder could even hold out against this. Feeling the tremors around him, the Sovereign King Thunder could not help but raise that haggard expression of his to face what was coming. But, when he caught sight of this being from the giant race before him, his face changed entirely. You, Sovereign King Thunder, I'm sure you don't remember me by now. However, your face will forever be etched within my heart. You had killed my wife. There's no way I'll ever forgive you. Da Fu boomed out as that voice was filled with an endless rage. He could not wait to kill this Sovereign King Thunder harshly. This is someone from the giant race with a story. Lin Fan said calmly. Yes, this poor monk has the same idea as you, benefactor. Reverend Shakia said. Looking at the being from the giant race before him, Sovereign King Thunder was almost going to break down. As a sovereign king, since when had he ever been subjected to such humiliation? To think that these beings he considered as ants were now all over his head and trampling down on him. I am a prisoner of war. I want privileges. Sovereign King Thunder did not dare to act too brazenly right now. He knew that the more audacious his words were, the more he would aggravate them. Completely powerless with his entire physical body state suppressed at this moment, even a slice of a normal blade would be able to cut him up entirely. You're Da Fu, right? Lin Fan asked. Party leader. Da Fu looked over at Lin Fan respectfully. To think that this Sovereign King Thunder would kill your wife. Then, go and kick to your heart's fulfillment. Just don't kill him, we've got more uses for him later on. Lin Fan said. Yes, party leader. Da Fu looked at Lin Fan gratefully. He then looked at Sovereign King Thunder. I'm not going to take your life. But, I'll make sure you pay a horrible price for what you did. You're shameless. Sovereign King Thunder knew that he could not run away from this as he vented his fury at Lin Fan. Lin Fan shrugged his shoulders, expressing his helplessness. Vroom, channeling all his powers from his body, a cyclone formed on Da Fu's right leg. Holy FCK, he's really going to burst those nuts. At the sight of this, Lin Fan could not help but exclaim. This benefactor has such a strong killing intent. Reverend Shakia added on. This is going to be something unbearable to watch. The dong's going to fly while the eggs are going to get smashed. ... Sovereign King Thunder, eat my kick, boom. That leg tore through the void as the explosion boomed out into the world. Everyone opened their eyes widely as though something earth-shattering was about to happen. Bam. At this moment, everyone was completely flabbergasted. The dong flew, and the eggs were crushed. The scene was similar to that of a watermelon being crushed right now. It was unbearable to watch. Drip. Blood began to drip out as everyone was just stoned in shock over everything right now. It burst. It really has burst. The nuts of the Sovereign King Thunder have truly burst. ... Bald monk, I'd say, now that this Sovereign King Thunder's body is incomplete, do you think I can still submit this as a mission? Lin Fan asked. Benefactor, this poor monk has no idea. Sovereign King Thunder was wailing out in anguish right now. That pain was so thorough that it was driving the Sovereign King Thunder mad within his heart. I've finally taken revenge for you. Ignoring the fresh blood on his leg, Da Fu raised his head and looked into the void. 2 streams of tears flowed down his cheeks. This feeling of hatred that was repressed within his heart for many years had finally gotten a closure. And, in the hands of the Revolutionary Army, the first ever eunuch sovereign king of the ancient race was born. This was a revolutionary moment indeed, where everyone present was a witness. They had just witnessed a scene that was history in the making. Chapter 716, Fight. So be it. Chapter 716, Fight. So be it. Mighty and grand, the members of the Revolutionary Army followed behind their party leader, their faces filled with pride. In the past, they weren't good enough to be considered by the other parties. However, just like that, they were now members of the Revolutionary Army. Let us go hand in the mission. Our Revolutionary Army shall be the first to clear a heaven-tiered middle-graded mission. Are you guys proud? And just like that, Lin Fan's value had skyrocketed as well. Proud, every member of the Revolutionary Army rallied. How could any of them not be proud? They had skyrocketed from people whom nobody would bother taking into members of the first party to clear a heaven-tiered middle-graded mission just like that. If word of this were to get out, how much pride would this give them? They would swear their lives by the Revolutionary Army right now. As for Lin Fan, making a name was all so simple. However, the 10,000 contribution points from earlier did stump him quite a little. If not for his luck that he had bumped into the 100 battle party, who knew how long it would take him to earn those 10,000 contribution points. If one wanted to earn a huge number of contribution points, they had to do missions. However, if one were a solo being, all one could take on were some small missions. And at the very most, those missions would give tens or hundreds of contribution points. God knew how long he would have to take missions to accumulate 10,000 contribution points. The guarded ground was a big place that could accommodate 1 million living beings. Compared to the vast population of the guarded ground, the members of the Revolutionary Army were but a mere drop of water in the ocean that was negligible. However, when one was to gather these people together, their aura was still grandiose. Some of the bypassers let out bewildered looks, wondering what was going on here. For most of the living beings in this place, they still did not know of the background of the Revolutionary Army, neither did they know of what had just happened earlier on. Not long later, Lin Fan and the others arrived at the place to hand in the missions. This area to hand in the missions was in yet another public square. Chick, I am here to hand in a mission. May I know the name of your party? Revolutionary Army. Lin Fan turned around at his followers and let out a smile. I'm sorry, the Revolutionary Army has yet to accept any missions. The chick at the counter replied. Party leader, how it works here is that we've got to first take on a mission before we can hand it in. We've got to accept that heaven-tiered middle-graded mission first. Zhao Xiaomao remarked. Oh, so that's the case. Lin Fan was a little embarrassed. Seemed like he had made a blunder carelessly. Some of the people around who were handing in their missions could not help but chuckle out. Just what kind of a party is this Revolutionary Army? How could they not even know of such simple rules? Who knows, probably some pariah dog's tea party I suppose. A heaven-tiered middle-graded mission. These guys don't know their places at all. N-O-V-E in .c ohm. Some of these comments were pretty piercing as they made their way into the ears of the members of the Revolutionary Army. Reverend Shakia was feeling a little riled by it, and was about to speak up to refute. However, he was held back by Lin Fan. Bald monk, there's no hurry. This is such a good face-slapping opportunity. How can we waste it? Lin Fan said. Reverend Shakia thought for a brief moment before smiling out, this poor monk is enlightened. Indeed, benefactor, you are one level beyond others. For Reverend Shakia, acting was more important than anything else. However, what Lin Fan and Reverend Shakia had not expected was that the other members of the party could not bear it in any longer. FCK, who in the world do you guys think you are? How dare you insult our Revolutionary Army? Are you guys looking to die? Brothers, how dare these fellas insult our Revolutionary Army? Fight them. That's right, we've dared to kick even the nuts of the Sovereign King Thunder. Would we be afraid of you guys? All of those who were mocking the Revolutionary Army were instantly stumped. To think that this Revolutionary Army would be this tyrannical. Didn't they just ridicule them a little? Why in the world did they seem as though they were on fire or something? Everyone, please quieten down. This is a public area. Please remain orderly and maintain our image. Lin Fan spoke up. All of a sudden, the members of the Revolutionary Army who were about to strike out came to a silence after hearing the words of their party leader. All of the bystanders nodded their heads as well. At least, the party leader was someone decent. However, when they heard what he said next, they nearly spat out all their blood. The reason why others would insult us is that they don't have foresight. There's no need for us to argue with them. Later on, we'll just give them silent face slaps. Don't you guys think so? Yes, everyone from the Revolutionary Army cheered out in agreement. Why you? The masses looked at Lin Fan and were instantly flushed with anger, as though they were pretty riled up. You, what you? Is the Revolutionary Army something that you guys can afford to offend? You guys will end up walking in but end up being carried out of this place. Lin Fan tossed a side glance. Right now, his business was booming. Therefore, he had the rights to be brazen. Benefactor, image. Reverend Shakia was still thinking that Benefactor Lin's upbringing was way too polished, that he didn't even fight back at all. But, before this idea could even form fully, it was knocked off by the behavior of Lin Fan's speech. Image my A**s. This guy was even more overboard than the rest. HMPH. I've just got to see who is the one who's going to get me carried out. At this moment, an enraged voice rang out from the sides. Party leader. When the guy who was threatened by Lin Fan saw who it was that spoke up, his face was filled with joy as he turned back to Lin Fan, party leader. He's the one, the guy who doesn't know the rules at all. And yet, he talks about wanting to take on a heaven-tiered middle-graded mission. What a fool who doesn't know his place. That's the party leader of the Berserk Dragon Party, Ni Kuanglong. The Revolutionary Army is in for it this time around. Ni Kuanglong has a reputation for being overbearing. Anyone who goes up against him will definitely end up in a bad state. The audience who were just watching the show remarked out. It's me. Lin Fan accepted the challenge without any hurry as he smiled in a toying manner. Lad, you're really wild, This is the guarded ground, not a place where some lowlife such as yourself can be brazen about. Piok. All of a sudden, a shoe flew out and was smacked on Ni Kuanglong. Who was it? Stand out. Grabbing the shoe in his hands, Ni Kuanglong burst out in anger. His face was flushed red. Evidently, he had not expected that someone would dare to be so audacious before him. It's us. All of us. All of a sudden, everyone from the Revolutionary Army stood up. Insolent. Throw it once more if you've got the guts. Ni Kuanglong was incensed right now. Throw. Sure, you'd think I'd be afraid of you. Pishu. Wham. Bam. All of a sudden, everyone from the Revolutionary Army took down their shoes and threw it at Ni Kuanglong. These members of the Revolutionary Army had embedded within their hearts the teachings of their party leader. Now that everyone was a big family, they would go through thick and thin together. If this guy wanted a fight, everyone would go at it. Who was afraid of whom? Even the Sovereign King Thunder wasn't a match for their party leader. What else could they be afraid of? Good. While the guarded ground forbids private duels, you can do what you want as long as you don't use your skills. You guys think that you've got the advantage in numbers, right? Good. Wait and see. Ni Kuanglong looked at everyone before him and snorted coldly. He then turned around to leave. Party leader, we're going to fight with them later. Even though the guarded ground forbids fights to take place, that's only if one is using skills. Between the parties, if they have differences with one another, they'll often settle it with their fists. I'm sure Ni Kuanglong must have gone to seek out reinforcements. Zhao Xiaomao said. Oh, I see. Lin Fan chuckled out. To think that this guarded ground would have a rule of this sort. This meant that if one were to not use their skills, every single punch would be to their faces. By then, it would only depend upon one's personal cultivation states and strength. However, there was no hurry about it. First up, he was going to submit the mission. Then, he would give them a good round of beating later on. Chapter 717, I love gang fights. Chapter 717, I love gang fights. Chick, I'm going to take on that heaven-tiered middle-graded mission for suppressing the Sovereign King Thunder. Lin Fan knocked on the counter and said. Huh, the chick raised her head and let out a bewildered expression. Could you say that again please? This chick knew that the mission to suppress the Sovereign King Thunder was a heaven-tiered middle-graded mission that had powerful parties attempting it in the past, only to end up in failure. Therefore, there was no one else who had dared to accept it after. The Revolutionary Army wants to take on that heaven-tiered middle-graded mission of suppressing the Sovereign King Thunder. Lin Fan said it out word by word. Are you sure? Yes, hurry up, Lin Fan replied impatiently. Due to the fact that it's a heaven-tiered middle-graded mission, we will require 50,000 contribution points as a deposit. The chick replied. What? Contribution points for deposit? The moment Lin Fan heard this, he was speechless. Which mother CKER was the one who had set these rules? Bloody hell, to think that one would even need to put down contribution points before one could take on difficult missions. Was that mother CKER going insane over contribution points? Yes, if you do not have 50,000 contribution points, you will not be able to accept this heaven-tiered middle-graded mission. The chick replied patiently. At this moment, Lin Fan cast his sights at the members of his revolutionary army. Eventually, he sighed. All of these were people whom no one else was willing to accept. How could they possibly have any contribution points? I've got 100 contribution points. I've got 300 contribution points. All my contribution points have been used to buy pills. ... At this moment, the surrounding observers were jeering in their hearts. Was this revolutionary army here to create some entertainment for them? To think that they would try to take on the heaven-tiered middle-graded mission without 50,000 contribution points. What a joke. A bunch of clowns. At this moment, a piercing voice rang out from nowhere. Somewhere in the distance, a man draped in white with a head of long, flowing hair walked over, carrying a longsword on his back. His aura was extraordinary, and a single look was enough to tell that he was no normal living being. That's the White Sword Saint, Feng Wushwang. He's the genius of the sword race who could escape from the grasp of Sovereign King Thunder. He's the vice party leader of the Sword God Party, and is even stronger than that Ni Kuanglong from earlier on. If this revolutionary army even knew of his strength, they would not offend him at all. ... Sissy boy, who did you say were like clowns? Lin Fan was pissed at this moment. Bloody hell, why the FCK was he getting Mother Sea King insulted wherever he went? This was intolerable. Seemed like it wouldn't do if he didn't show his authority. What did you say? The moment Feng Wushwang heard this person before him calling him a sissy boy, he couldn't take it any longer. He had exquisitely beautiful features. If he didn't explicitly say it out, he did look like a beautiful woman. Therefore, the thing he hated the most was people calling him a sissy boy. Sissy boy, Lin Fan said. You. Feng Wushwang's eyes shone with a killing intent as he brandished his sword will. As though he had suddenly thought of something, he kept back his sword will and said out, "You're trying to seek death." Yes, I can officially tell you right here and now that I'm seeking death. However, there's nothing you can do about this. Come, please kill me with one slice of your sword. Pretty please, Lin Fan called out wantonly. Benefactor, this is the first time we're here at this place, and our party is newly formed. We've got to keep a low profile. Reverend Shakia could feel his goosebumps standing up. The feeling that this Feng Wushwang before him was giving off was terrifying. Furthermore, they had already offended so many people in such a short amount of time. Even if one had a really cocky face, this shouldn't be the way to go about things. Bald monk, we're the revolutionary army. We do not need a low profile. Lin Fan waved his hand off. Oi, are you guys still accepting the mission? The chick asked a little impatiently. The moment Lin Fan heard this, he looked back at Feng Wushwang, smelly sissy boy. What are you looking at? If you're unhappy, go and get more reinforcements. We'll have a big fight later on. I'll guarantee that you'll cry with your guts. Don't you guys think so? Yes, everyone from the Revolutionary Army cheered out. They could feel their blood rumbling right now. This was the type of life they had craved for. Perhaps they might end up getting beaten up all swollen with bruises later on. But even then, if their party leader weren't afraid, what did they have to be afraid of? Good, very good. Feng Wushwang looked at Lin Fan coldly before leaving the place with a face full of rage. At this moment, Lin Fan was feeling a little troubled. How in the Mother Sea King world was he going to go look for 50,000 contribution points? And just at this moment, Lin Fan saw someone familiar. You hold on, Lin Fan said to the chick. He then ran over and said, Lu Qiangwei, can you do me a favor? Lend me 50,000 contribution points. I'll return you later. Lu Qiangwei looked at Lin Fan and did not ponder at all. Sure. Good going. Receiving the 50,000 contribution points, Lin Fan replied cheerily. He then returned to the chick's area. Here are 50,000 contribution points here. Hand the mission over. The chick at the counter had not expected the other party to obtain his 50,000 contribution points this quickly. She then wrote the mission under the name of the Revolutionary Army. It's done. The mission is stated under your Revolutionary Army now. You have a limit of 2 days. Good luck. The chick did not bear any expectations towards this Revolutionary Army. Sure, I'm here to hand in the mission. The moment he received the mission, Lin Fan replied. The chick was stunned. Her expression then turned frosty. Are you messing with me? Why would I mess with you? Bald monk, drag that sovereign King Thunder over here. Lin Fan ordered. Without hesitating, Reverend Shakia dragged that sovereign King Thunder, who was akin to a dead dog, right over. All of the observers surrounding them had been looking at this FCKED up party from the very beginning. The moment they heard that they were going to hand in the mission, they could not contain their giggles. November LBJNN. Was this revolutionary army retarded? But, the moment Reverend Shakia dragged an ancient race being over, everyone froze up. They could not help but raise their heads to look at the missions list and found the piece of information regarding the sovereign King Thunder. Holy FCK, is that really the sovereign King Thunder? It seems like, they look exactly the same. I've just heard a piece of news. They said that the sovereign King Thunder had been suppressed by people from the guarded ground. They're called the Revolutionary Army. That can't be, right? Don't tell me that it's them. At this moment, everyone was dumbstruck with disbelief. Check the goods. However, when I was suppressing this fella here, the reaction was overwhelming. So, I accidentally bust his nuts. I don't reckon that should be an issue, right? Lin Fan was truly afraid that the other party would not accept these defected goods. Reverend Shakia could not help but roll his eyes. Accident his A*S. Weren't these nuggets busted by the masses? The chick looked at the sovereign King Thunder and then at the information of the mission. She then turned to look at Lin Fan in shock, unable to snap back to her senses for a long time. At this moment, the chick received a telepathic message. Her expression gradually changed while her voice was still startled. Heaven-tiered middle-graded mission completed. Here are 200,000 contribution points. And, your 50,000 contribution points are refunded as well. Efficient. Lin Fan grinned and kept the 200,000 contribution points. He then came before Lu Qiangwei and returned her the 50,000 contribution points. Many thanks. Lu Qiangwei opened her mouth, wanting to say something. But, she decided against it and closed it. With 200,000 contribution points at his side, Lin Fan could stand up straight and tall right now. Zhao Xiaomao, here are 50,000 contribution points. Go buy some materials for me. Lin Fan handed 50,000 contribution points to the wide-eyed Zhao Xiaomao. At this moment, Zhao Xiaomao was so touched that he was about to cry out. To think that the party leader would trust him this much to hand him such a big amount of contribution points just like that. Hurry up, it's urgent. As many as you can, and as quickly as you can. Lin Fan said. Yes, party leader, I guarantee that I'll complete this mission as quickly as I can. Zhao Xiaomao swore from the bottom of his heart. He couldn't let his party leader down. Therefore, he sprinted off immediately. At this moment, Lin Fan's eyes shone with a glint. Gang fight, sure, it was time to have some fun with those guys. A storm was being raised up in the guarded ground. Ni Quanglong and Feng Wushang were both riled up by this darned revolutionary army. They were bent on having this revolutionary army pay the price. Chapter 718, The Cusp of the Earth-Shattering Great Battle. Chapter 718, The Cusp of the Earth-Shattering Great Battle. Everyone from the Berserk Dragon Party, gather. The moment Ni Quanglong got back to his base, his face was grim as he shouted out. Wherever the voice passed by, the place trembled. Everyone gathered, not knowing what was going on. Party leader, why are you so mad? Did something big happen? Looking at how scary the face of their party leader was looking, everyone from the Berserk Dragon Party knew that something must have happened. HMPH. Earlier on, there was some party who did not know what's good for them and provoked me. Everyone, make some preparations. We're going to head there and teach them a good lesson. Time to let them know that the Berserk Dragon Party is not to be messed with. Ni Quanglong hollered. To think that there would be such a tactless team. That's fine as well, it's been some time since I've had a good fight. In our hands, that party has only death awaiting them. How dare he challenge our Berserk Dragon Party? Even if he's the Almighty Father, I'm going to beat him into submission. Now that they heard something like this, no one from the Berserk Dragon Party could endure it at all. All of them were filled with an ominous aura right now. They could not wait to rush over there right now and teach that damned party which didn't know their place a good lesson. When Feng Wushang from the Sword God Party went back, he too gathered his members as they made their way towards the Revolutionary Army grandly. At this moment, the winds were spinning inside the guarded ground as some of the living beings were starting to discover the commotion caused by the Berserk Dragon Party and the Sword God Party. They did not know what was happening. However, by the looks of it, this seemed like something serious. The Berserk Dragon Party and the Sword God Party were famous parties within the guarded ground. Every move they made caused the world to tremble along with it. Now that they were going all out entirely, it was evident that something big was going to fall out because of it. Within the guarded ground, any fight that did not involve skills was something that was recognized. Party leader, I'm back. I've completed the task perfectly, with 30,000 contribution points remaining. Zhao Xiaomao ran back hurriedly. Didn't I ask you to buy everything? Party leader, my storage ring is all full now. I can't fit anything in anymore. Zhao Xiaomao said with a bitter look. 50,000 contribution points was a large sum. Furthermore, within the guarded ground, materials were the cheapest things there were. That was because the beings of the thousands of races were unable to craft their own weapons. Even if it were the kidnapped ancient race weaponsmiths, they only made up a minority. Not only that, those weaponsmiths would only be able to craft out typical spirit weapons. Lin Fan checked out the materials and saw that the storage ring was truly stuffed to the brim. To think that materials would be this cheap here. Party leader, on my way back, I came across someone making flags. Therefore, I decided on my own to have a war flag made for us. Zhao Xiaomao took out the war flag and said. Yes, that's fine. Lin Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. By now, there were a total of 150 members that were recruited. Within the guarded ground, this was a negligible force. Compared to the Berserk Dragon Party and the Sword God Party, they were equivalent to an egg smashing itself against a rock. However, Lin Fan wanted to be the hard-boiled egg that could smash a rock. Craft weapons, craft equipment sets, be armed to the teeth. All of you, sit down cross-legged. Your party leader here is going to impart you guys the world-famous skill of your party leader. Lin Fan said to all of his members. Yes, the members of the Revolutionary Army were pumping with adrenaline right now. They knew that a great battle was about to commence soon. This was the first battle of the Revolutionary Army. Even if they were to be walloped into dead dogs, they would fight till the very end. This Revolutionary Army is too damned foolish. So what if they had completed a heaven-tiered middle-graded mission? The Berserk Dragon Party and the Sword God Party can suppress them entirely still. It's just a newly formed party that does not know their place at all. Once the Berserk Dragon Party and the Sword God Party arrives, it's going to be a tragedy for this Revolutionary Army. They're gonna get their A*S's handed to them. The thought of it is pretty tragic already. Let us just stand here and watch. This sort of battle without powers involved is something that's really uncommon these days. Listening to the chatter of the surrounding audience, Lu Qiangwei's face changed. She then stood up to inquire, are you guys going to fight against the Berserk Dragon Party and the Sword God Party? To Lu Qiangwei, this was just committing suicide entirely. The foundation of those two parties was profound, and they had the advantage in numbers as well. Even if they were to not use their powers, they would be enough to wallop the Revolutionary Army into dogs. And now that there was such strife going on, how was the Revolutionary Army supposed to survive in the guarded ground in the future? Yes, Lin Fan replied indifferently. No, you can't do that. This is going to be a severe blow for both you and your party. Lu Qiangwei tried talking Lin Fan out of this. This is not a blow. This is me making a stand. Yours truly is going to let everyone here know that within the guarded ground, the Revolutionary Army is the strongest. Lin Fan was really filled with confidence. Wasn't it just a gang fight? Who was afraid of whom? Lu Qiangwei looked at Lin Fan, who was brimming with confidence and did not know what to say for a moment or so. Alright, you can just stand one side and look. Lin Fan waved his hand off. He then burst forth with his consciousness and imparted it out to the 150 members under his charge. True Origin's crushing kick, Black Tiger Steel's heart. Even though what they had learned was the most primitive version of it, it was more than enough for a gang fight. What's this skill? It's so vicious. That's right, I feel as though I'm filled with energy from head to toe. Our party leader is the party leader indeed. To think that he would pass as such important skills. HMPH. Once the Berserk Dragon Party and the Sword God Party arrives, we'll be sure to let them know of our prowess. Not so far in the distance. A number of parties were gathered observing, including the Sealing Heavens Party as well. This Revolutionary Army is not going to make it big. Bronze and no brains. They're nothing to be fearful about. One glance was all it took for Feng Wuti to lose all his attention as he turned around to leave the place. Initially, he wanted to check it out after hearing that the party leader of the Revolutionary Army had subdued the sovereign King Thunder. He wanted to see what sort of a party this powerful being would form. However, now that he was witnessing the sort of brainless brawn that the party leader possessed, Feng Wuti was completely looking down on him. Revolutionary Army, prepare to die. All of a sudden, an explosion boomed out. Both the Berserk Dragon Party and the Sword God Party had met with the same experience. Exchanging glances, they both nodded in sync. Today, they were going to oppress the other party with sheer numbers and crumble the revolutionary army completely. The Berserk Dragon Party is here. The Sword God Party is here too. These two parties are going all out with their full force. It's over for the revolutionary army. When Ni Kuanglong and Feng Wushang brought their party members to the scene, they found the revolutionary army standing there in an orderly manner without fear. Lin Fan was holding on to the war flag as his aura burst out. With a mighty thrust, he pierced the war flag into the ground. The entire revolutionary army, heed my call. Later, we'll have them begging on the ground for mercy. Lin Fan yelled out. Yes, party leader. Everyone from the revolutionary army cheered out in unison. Their spirits were high right now as they were filled with an endless fighting vigor. At this moment, everyone from the surroundings who was watching started making way. They did not want to get dragged into this mess. Fists and kicks had no eyes. If they were to get too close and the fight really broke out, it would be a tragedy if they were dragged within. The members of the Berserk Dragon Party were similar to madmen. Some of the other parties who had once pit themselves against the Berserk Dragon Party were left being picked up like scraps. After those incidents, everyone was well behaved and did not dare to cause trouble with them anymore. The longsword in Feng Wushang's hands had already been placed in his storage ring before he walked over to Lin Fan with a haughty expression. You had better remember this. You're going to go through hell later. Feng Wushang glared at Lin Fan coldly. Hue. Lin Fan chuckled out. All of a sudden, his eyes sparkled out as he just sent a kick flying towards Feng Wushang's crotch. Cut the crap before the great battle. Everyone, go FCK them up. Initially, Feng Wushang had wanted to give off a few more threats. To think that this fellow would start kicking just over a single sentence. Instantly, he felt an unspeakable surge of pain rush itself into his heart. Thud, Feng Wushang collapsed into a kneeling position, unable to get up. Before the great battle, the enemy had already lost a general. Courting death, FCK up the revolutionary army. Ni Kuanglong bellowed out as he waved his hand. That gigantic army of his rushed at the revolutionary army like rabid dogs. They wanted to make use of absolute quantity to oppress the enemy side, so that they would know the meaning of cruelty. Chapter 719, I shall use my hands to salvage you. Chapter 719, I shall use my hands to salvage you. All of a sudden, the scene right now was extremely grandiose. In the eyes of everyone present, the revolutionary army was going to be swept away without any chance of coming back at all. Ni Kuanglong roared out. Even if one were forbidden to use their powers, he was still incomparably strong. As he slammed out with a punch, there was an explosive sound that accompanied it. If it were any normal person who had to endure this punch, they would definitely puke out at least 3 liters of blood. And, Ni Kuanglong's target right now was Lin Fan. He wanted to trample that guy beneath his feet harshly and let him know the consequences of messing with someone like him. To Ni Kuanglong, anyone else from the revolutionary army wouldn't be able to endure even a single blow. At the very most, 3 breaths were all it would take to crumble this entire party. The members of the Berserk Dragon Party and the Sword God Party were numerous. Even if they didn't have to use their powers, it wasn't something that these trashes could compete against. Ah, cheap, despicable. Suddenly, a series of shrieks rang out. The moment Ni Kuanglong heard these shrieks, he smirked. This was the best feeling ever. But, what was up with this despicable stuff? Ni Kuanglong did not know what was going on. The only thing on his mind right now was to crush this fella before him harshly. Boom, Lin Fan did not budge at all as he received that punch from Ni Kuanglong. Ni Kuanglong smiled coldly. He was filled with confidence towards his fist. But at that moment, his face took on a stark change. To think that this fella before him didn't even move, as though there was nothing wrong about it. True Origin's crushing kick. Lin Fan smiled indifferently as that earth-shattering kick was sent out. To Ni Kuanglong, this kick was way too horrifying. It seemed as though a gigantic tornado was rampaging as thousands of arrows tore through his heart. Even though he wanted to dodge it, he couldn't. Bam! All of a sudden, Ni Kuanglong's face changed. A sense of bewilderment he had never once experienced in his life bubbled in his heart. Pain! Ni Kuanglong shouted out involuntarily. However, the moment he shouted out, that pain engulfed his entire body like a volcano that had just erupted. That scream of anguish could topple the heavens and earth. Ni Kuanglong could not hold it back as he collapsed into a kneel. Just someone like you and you think you can go against my revolutionary army? Know your place. Lin Fan stomped on Ni Quanglong's face and burst out laughing, surrender to yours truly or yours truly shall bust your nuts. But, as for Ni Quanglong, he couldn't even speak right now. That wave of pain was tormenting him into insanity right now. Zhao Xiaomao's strength wasn't all that great. Right now, he was facing up against a being of the giant race from the Berserk Dragon Party. Little bugger, I'll slap you to death. The being from the giant race laughed coldly as he slapped out towards Zhao Xiaomao. Even though Zhao Xiaomao received the 2 ultimate skills from his party leader, he could not help but shudder in fear before the sight of this bulked figure. His legs were starting to tremble right now. Bam! Zhao Xiaomao shut his eyes. He could sense a tremendous force befalling him. However, he suddenly opened his eyes. All of a sudden, he realized that the force had dissipated. Why you? The giant looked at everything before him and raised his head in disbelief as though he had just seen a ghost. Zhao Xiaomao did not know what had just happened. All of a sudden, he found a barrier of light surrounding him. What's this? Zhao Xiaomao realized that there was a layer of protection around him all of a sudden. A membrane with a slight tinge of red, blue, and white emanated out of his body, covering it entirely like a skin. Even his eyes were covered by this thing that was akin to the size of a duck's egg. Spirit weapons protection. How could you possibly have a spirit weapon? The giant was completely stumped as though he had just witnessed something frightening. This is the official costume of the Revolutionary Army. It represents justice. Zhao Xiaomao, make use of its powers to crush this giant entirely. Looking at the product that he had created, Lin Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. Within the guarded ground, the materials were easily found. Lin Fan could craft out spirit weapons effortlessly. And, just as Lin Fan was crafting out these spirit weapons, he even held back so that if he could find the suitable materials later on, he could evolve them one more step, turning it into a Dao weapon. The thought of the entire Revolutionary Army being draped in Dao weapons or even utmost treasure protective gear was something majestic to behold. Yes, party leader, Zhao Xiaomao burst out laughing. Without any fear, he looked at the giant and leapt up. Eat my leg. Balls kicking burst forth in a magnificent arc that struck straight at the giant's crotch. Bam! Arg hhhhhhhh. Brothers, we have a spirit weapon protective gear. Do not fear, just FCK them up. Zhao Xiaomao waved his hands out and attacked yet another person. Another corner. A female member of the Sword God Party has blocked down someone from the Revolutionary Army. HMPH. You guys from the Revolutionary Army are truly despicable. To think that you would specialize in kicking that area. But, it's a pity that I'm a girl without that thing there. I'll see how you can deal with me now. The female member of the Sword God Party scoffed coldly. For a moment, this member of the Revolutionary Army did not know what to do and started contemplating deep in thoughts. But just then, Reverend Shakia floated before this member and patted him on the shoulder. The Revolutionary Army is a righteous army. We treat everyone equally, be it men, women, the elderly, or the young. This person standing before you is a lost living being. You have to use both of your hands to bring her to salvation. This speech by Reverend Shakia was akin to a stabilizing shot being pumped into the heart of this member. Yes, Vice Party Leader. I understand. The party member nodded his head seriously. He then looked at the other party and moved his hands. I shall use both my hands to salvage you. Bam! Ah! Despicable! Shameless! Help me! This female member of the Sword God Party had not expected this person from the Revolutionary Army to be this cheap and resort to such an underhanded move. My chest! My chest! ... Looking at everything before him, Reverend Shakia could not help but sigh out. What an inhumane life he was leading now. When could this poor monk ever go back to the normal days? By now, the entire Revolutionary Army was like a bunch of vigorous tigers while the members of the Berserk Dragon Party and the Sword God Party were akin to white rabbits to be manhandled. Brothers, leave this girl to me. No, this girl has already veered off the right path. As a warrior of the Revolutionary Army, I've got to salvage her with my hands. At this moment, a woman from the Sword God Party was being surrounded while a few people argued over the issue. Forget it, we're all brothers. We'll go through thick and thin together. Since that's the case, let us all save her together. Yes, I had the same thought. Black Tiger steals heart. Twin Dragons exploration. The moment the woman from the Sword God Party saw this, she was scared silly as she covered her head and screamed out, no. ... By now, all the observers were already stunned. It can't be, right? Just where in the world did this Revolutionary Army hail from? To think that they could even deal with the combined attack of two big parties. How in the world did this revolutionary army gain so many protective spirit weapons? That's impossible. How vicious. Back then, why didn't I join the revolutionary army as well? If I did, I would be able to be as imposing as them right now. Both the Berserk Dragon Party and the Sword God Party are as good as paper tigers in the hands of the revolutionary army. They can't even deal with a single blow. Such cruel methods. This is way too overbearing. Everyone was already thoroughly flabbergasted by the methods of the revolutionary army. Kick, pull, these two moves were used to a state of complete proficiency, leaving one unable to defend at all. Made famous through a single battle. From this moment, the name of the revolutionary army was akin to a typhoon that had coiled itself within the hearts of everyone present. Chapter 720, The Meddling Green Emperor. Chapter 720, The Meddling Green Emperor. No more please. Please stop kicking me over there. ... It was a total wipeout for the Berserk Dragon Party and the Sword God Party right now as their members laid on the ground, wailing out in pain. Their hearts were filled with an intense crushing feeling. This was especially the case for the male members, who were even suffering from a physical crushing of their nuts. To them, members of the revolutionary army were thorough scoundrels. Each of them had a spirit weapon armor, and not only that, their attack methods were vicious. There was no chance given at all. Stand up and come again. I'm not done fighting just yet. The members of the revolutionary army were going through an adrenaline rush right now. In all of these years, this was their most comfortable day of all. To think that these parties which they were once unworthy of would be stamped beneath their feet right now. No one from the masses had expected the revolutionary army to be this strong. Initially, they had thought that this revolutionary army was just a party that did not know their place at all. But right now, that image from their minds were crushed entirely. This revolutionary army was not to be underestimated. Obtaining victory despite being overwhelmed in numbers and with a complete set of equipment and vicious methods. The moment they struck, someone was bound to kneel down. This was totally chilling. Lin Fan looked at the scene before him and burst out laughing. How now, wormy worm Quanglong? Are you convinced now? Ni Quanglong's pain wasn't limited to his physical state right now. He nearly spat out a mouthful of blood when he heard his name being turned to Worm Quanglong. Seems like you're unconvinced. You cheap scum. If your skills aren't as good as mine, you've got no rights to call yours truly despicable. The name of yours truly isn't something you can mock. Remember this, if you were to bump into the revolutionary army from this day forth, you've got to make way with your tail between your legs. The revolutionary army isn't something you can afford to offend. Lin Fan flicked out his robes and stamped Ni Quanglong beneath his feet before turning around to the masses imposingly. Everyone looked at the revolutionary army and could not help but take in deep breaths. They were already fully convinced by the strength of the revolutionary army. Strong, way too strong. Revolutionary army, you're going overboard now, aren't you? Just at this moment, a voice rang out. The moment everyone turned their heads into the distance, they were shocked. That's the party leader of the Green Emperor Party. The Green Emperor Party is the third-ranked party in the guarded ground. Their strength is way stronger than that of the Berserk Dragon Party or the Sword God Party. That's right, even though the revolutionary army might be strong, if they were to be compared to the Green Emperor Party, it's really like a toddler against an adult. There's no way to compare at all. Now that the Green Emperor has chosen to make his appearance, if the revolutionary army knows what's good for them, they would be sure to back off. No matter what, this battle is still going to spread the name of the revolutionary army. From this day forth, they'll definitely be a famous party in the guarded ground. Everyone was discussing fervently, however, they were mostly looking at the Green Emperor in awe. The powerful beings were naturally respected, let alone someone like the Green Emperor. What kind of a small fry are you? Our revolutionary army wants to go overboard, so what? If you're not happy, get your guys over and we'll fight for a good 300 rounds to see who's the first one to fall. Lin Fan frowned, unfazed by this Green Emperor in the least bit. One had to be domineering in life. If you're unhappy, come and try FC King it up then. What was there to be talking about, unless this guy was afraid of coming? The members of the revolutionary army were extremely familiar with this Green Emperor. Even though they were brimming with confidence after successfully suppressing two strong parties, the appearance of the Green Emperor still had them feeling a little furtive. After all, the Green Emperor was a renowned powerful being within the guarded ground. The might of the Green Emperor was extraordinary, and he had a bulked-up body. He brought with him a sort of majestic aura. Just by him standing there, an immense amount of pressure swept through the entire world. HMPH. The brows of the Green Emperor furrowed as he could not help but snort out coldly. The voice carried with it powers, causing thunder to rumble with it. Everyone could feel their ears hurting just by listening to it. The cultivation states of the members of the Revolutionary Army were below average. Naturally, they could not withstand such roars. Their spirits were rattled as their faces turned pale. Watching the scene, everyone nearby knew that the Green Emperor was giving the Revolutionary Army a warning. There were some who were gleeful over this. This Revolutionary Army was making quite a name for themselves. Someone had to put them in their places. Now that the Green Emperor had struck, things would naturally be different. So what if it were the Revolutionary Army? Could they possibly be a match for the Green Emperor? *T that doesn't know your place. Ni Kuanglong, who was being stamped on under Lin Fan's feet, seethed out in anger. Now that the Green Emperor was here, he knew that things would definitely end horrendously for this Revolutionary Army. Mind your own business. Looking at how this Green Emperor had dared to strike out, Lin Fan was incensed. He couldn't bother with any other rules as he sent a palm strike flying out towards the Green Emperor. The moment everyone saw this, they were flabbergasted. This is the guarded ground. If he dares to strike out like that, the overseer of this place will definitely not sit back and do nothing. The overseer must have already noticed this place from the start. The fact that the Green Emperor is even here and yet the overseer isn't must be because he wants to make use of the Green Emperor to teach this Revolutionary Army a lesson. There's that possibility as well. But guys, who do you guys think will win? The Green Emperor for sure. What sort of an existence is the Green Emperor? It would be effortless for him to take down the Revolutionary Army. I don't think it would be necessarily so. The Revolutionary Army has managed to suppress the Sovereign King Thunder. While the Sovereign King Thunder may be strong, if the Green Emperor were to strike out, he might not be weaker than the Sovereign King Thunder. That's true as well. Looking at the situation before her, Lu Qiangwei was petrified. She had not expected things to turn out as such. Everyone knew of the might of the Green Emperor. Now that Lin Fan was looking to pit himself against him, wasn't he just purposely going into a bad situation? HMPH. The Green Emperor snorted coldly. Without any anger, his might was shown forth as a green light streaked through the void and cut out at Lin Fan. This green light was extremely sharp as it minced the void together with it. What's this? Yours truly is going to take you down today. Lin Fan pounced up nimbly as his figure flashed. A mighty palm strike descended down from the skies. This power was boundless and earth-shattering, as it repressed down onto the Green Emperor with absolute momentum. The body of the Green Emperor flashed as he streaked through the void. An infinite amount of saintly green lights shone out from the back of his body like a banner that pierced through the entire world and encompassed the void. That's the Green Emperor's god glow. This guy is in for it now. The moment the Green Emperor struck, a boundless amount of might coiled through the world. As everyone watched this, they could not help but shudder. It was rare for them to see the Green Emperor in action. But each time they did, it was a world-changing affair. Lin Fan's fingers were like knives that sliced through the void. He ripped apart that banner of green light with ease. Green Emperor, since you seek your own humiliation, yours truly is going to take you down today. I'll let you know the consequences of meddling in the affairs of others. The incredible arrogance of a frog in a well. The Green Emperor got serious as he did not hold back any longer. His entire body jerked once as a green light filled his body. This green light began to shrink down and was converging into his fingertips. Taking on the shape of a claw, he ripped out towards the void. All of a sudden, his powers rumbled as a series of vortices made up of his powers appeared around his body. A mighty power of suction burst forth. The situation right now had attracted the attention of many powerful beings. This Revolutionary Army is pretty strong indeed. To think that they could hold out until now. But, this all ends now. The Green Emperor is thoroughly enraged. This move isn't going to be so easy to block. As for the members of the Revolutionary Army, each of them stared at the situation in the void fixedly. Benefactor, fight on. FCK this guy up. Reverend Shakia shouted out. Even though he was someone from the Buddha race, Reverend Shakia had never watched his words. Vulgarities flew out from his mouth without any restraint at all. Party leader, fight. Might be to our party leader. Might be to our Revolutionary Army. At this moment, Lin Fan's face was cool and calm as always. As for this move of the Green Emperor, he wasn't bothered by it. If this guy thought he was strong, so be it. While that suction force may be pretty immense, it meant nothing to Lin Fan. Green Emperor, that's enough. Lie down for yours truly. When Lin Fan got serious, even Lin Fan would be afraid of Lin Fan. An outburst from him was enough to have the gods and ghosts crying in fear.